I'm so bothered by being invisible. Um, Walk through the hospital, a clinic, a walkway. Whoa, went to the couple of places. It's like you don't exist. I mean, you're walking
Yes.
straight away and they just got across and they're looking at their phone and and that's the bane of my existence are the cell phones. It's just, we don't really have to have that immediate.
Right. Hey, Eddie, can you set me up for co-host?
Yes, sir. I'll get right on it. I thought I did that a moment ago. Oh no, I did it for the wrong guy. Okay, now we got it.
Yeah. Hey, Neil. 2 weeks ago, were you and I chatting about the difference between the 3520 and the 4224? No, I'm sorry, the 3520B and the 3520C. So as you can tell with me saying the 4224, I gave you wrong information. The B and C model both have the 20-inch capacity over the bed. The C model just has a few more bells and whistles, aesthetics, compared to the 3520B. But the turning capacities are the same. The 4224, the specs that I was giving you when we were talking there 2 weeks ago, those specs are for the 4224. For whatever reason, I was reading the C model and going straight to the big boy Powermatic lathes. So, but that's
Okay,
the
I
difference
understand.
on the B and C.
My next question is, what's the difference between the anniversary
It's just black.
3520C? Yeah,
They paint
but
them, they paint them black, and then depending, I know for mine, I got the bed extension for a cheaper rate. And
Okay.
I want to say I got a couple extra drive centers or extra live center for the same price as what the old yellow ones were. And then buying, then having to buy the additional pieces for additional money.
Okay, that
Yes.
makes sense. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
But yeah, you're welcome.
Like a card club, we talk about, do those tires go faster? My dad used to joke about it. He said, see that car with those chrome rims? I said, yeah. And he says, I'll outrun you every day. He said, don't worry about it. I see people restore these old cars and they look good, right up to where I see the chrome rims, the chrome reverses and all that. That's not what happened years ago when they put them out.
Right.
But I was sitting out front the other day with the puppy and I saw a D3 Studebaker go by and it looked like it just rolled off the showroom floor. It was absolutely gorgeous.
So it's ironic talking about the old classics. So driving through the various countryside roads up there in west central Kentucky, you're really down in the hills and whatnot. And then, so as the leaves fell off the trees, now you've got visibility to be able to see out into the woods, the various old shacks, that have ran, gone of yesteryear. And then you could not believe all of the old vehicles and pickup trucks and the classic cars just sitting, out in the field or out in the woods, just rusting down with trees growing through them. And so I would always think about every time I'd pass by one, hey, these guys need to call up Fast and Loud show that was on years ago. Richard somebody out of Texas that made those hot rods on the the Discovery Channel. Just all, looked like a gold mine for the various cars that were sitting out there in the old pickup trucks. It was just, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to imagine to see so many of them on, the various country roads that I'd be traveling over during my time up there the last 3 months.
And that's where they find them at. I know a guy that wanted to build a hot rod, and he went looking at doing a fiberglass body over such and such frame and all. And he went to look at one, a kit car, as I call them. And he came back with this piece of junk on the trailer. I said, "What's that?" And he says, "A perfect body. Nothing wrong with it. If I sand it, I can paint it." And he spent 3-4 years rebuilding it. He didn't have a better time in his life. He said he'd map out a program of what he's going to do the next day or 2 or 3, and get right down. He put a lift in his garage. Put a hydraulic from a gas station lift in his garage.
Yeah.
And I asked, "Well, what is that for?" And he says, "Well, when you get back from taking it for a ride, I'll lift it up and clean it off."
Yeah.
In the old days, they only gave you $10 or $15 for a junk car. So a lot of people just said, heck with it, park it in the woods.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, the folks next to me, he had a machine shop over there. It's still there, just not working anymore. He had 5 cars parked in the back of that property, 5 junkers. He's been going a bunch of years now, and his son was getting married right before COVID, and he spent a couple of weekends over there, and he told me they took 99,000 pounds of iron to the dump, to the remill. 99,000 pounds, because he had 6-inch
Wow,
posts
that's a lot.
to do bullards and extensions on wooden piles and all this stuff. That's that was their livelihood for a couple of years. I remember when we first moved in, they'd have utility service trucks parked over in the yard, and it wouldn't work on them at night, but they'd leave the radios on. And we love this house because they leave the windows open to get a nice breeze. But fortunately, his son cleaned that place up, lighted up nicely. The mom took a fall a couple of weeks ago. We haven't seen anything on her for a while. Hope she bounces back. I'm trying to find where. There it is. Okay. If y'all are just stepping in, folks, tonight, Dane Chandler is going to be doing his demonstration on pens with some little twist on it. And I helped the guy by the internet. He should be here tonight, a new member, Arnie, sorry. Should be here tonight because we've talked by internet a couple of times this week concerning holding pen mandrels and stuff. And he is unfortunately one of those new turners locked into the catalog. And he told me what he was going to buy, and I said, "Don't buy any of that. I mean, they got you. You watched the video that they put out. They got you. They, one little $39 piece, another $39 piece, another $39 piece, and you're out of the market. And so we went over some tips and hints on what I've done when I turn pens, because I honestly I didn't even know some of those things existed. I had to create my own stuff.
Yeah.
Until today. There's Ron.
Dane? Yeah. Well, did Dane take off again?
No, he's in there.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Dane, are you going to show us your herb tools?
Oh yeah, I guess I could.
Yeah, I guess you
His
could.
what? What are those?
It's for the marijuana smoking community.
Uh-oh.
Headshots. So they use them to clean their bowls, bongs, bowls, whatever the hell they're called, their little glass pipes. Spin this around. So here they are.
That's nice.
One group. And so these ones here I drilled and stuffed with some Mojave green turquoise and some the Sleeping Beauty turquoise. And they're literally just the shape of a bat. That's what they like. And then I just did some twists on them, between.
Is that a
Plain
purchased
burn
piece of
lines.
steel?
Yeah, so my daughter's boyfriend, he supplies me with the heads, and I cut. And so there's two tools on one tool. It's double-ended, and so I just cut them down with their blades, and I just turned various designs on them. But so these are all dyed, and so excluding the turquoise ones at the head shops. So just plain wood, plain mesquite, ash, whatever, plain wood, no frills added to it. I'm getting $15 a unit. For the
Whoa.
dyed ones, I'm getting $35 a unit. And for the turquoise, $55 a unit. And they take 5 minutes to turn.
Yeah, I'm looking at, as you're saying, and I'm looking at a couple of good passes with the skew, shape the ends, and you're there.
So I start off with, I mill my blanks down to a 1/2 inch, and then go from there. So this diameter is 11 mil. This back diameter is 8 mil. Where the bat union comes to play here is 4 mil. And then just do your basic slope down and giddy up and you're done. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm getting really tired of turning them.
Hey, Dane. Hey, Dane. Well, getting back to it now, what is the thing that you are inserting? What is that?
So it's some scraping tool. I don't have any full size ones, but I've got some. Let me grab one of my boxes that are cut down.
So it's something that, okay, so you say your
So
daughter's boyfriend. So I guess you could buy them, but what would be the name?
yeah,
What would be the name of
I don't know. I'm just making them. So literally, so here's an example. And so it's a double-ended tool,
Yeah.
and all I'm doing is cutting them down.
Wow. That's some pretty good money quick.
Yeah, that's what I say. And considering the amount of money I've had to put into my fuel system on my truck, it's coming in handy.
Did you have to
I'm just
replace the
having,
entire
having fun with them. Or at least out here in Arizona, there's nothing in the market. And literally they were showing me that what they were doing is literally just taking a square blank. Somebody would take sandpaper and kind of like round over the corners, drilling a hole and sticking them in. And they were selling those for $30 a pop. And I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I can do something way better than that.
They look good, really good.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just shaking my head.
Well,
Why are you shaking your head?
shake your head about the market, right?
Well, I understand the small stash boxes sell pretty good too.
Yeah, I would imagine they do. Yeah. So I've been learning a little bit about the that market, and it's been interesting. In fact, they just learned me on how to make an Instagram reel on Sunday night, and so my daughter's boyfriend did the first one for me on one of the little turquoise stuffed units for an Instagram reel. Don't ask me to explain it because I really don't know what it is, other than it's a short video that you throw a little gimmick gift on it and add some music that's trending and let it go. So it did 1,000 views, and I think it took 2 days. And then so last night I made my first one, all by myself, an Instagram reel on just working with the skew, working on something similar, but along those lines. And when I woke up this morning at 7, I'd already done 1,000 views.
It's 200.
I was one of them.
Were you? Right on. Yeah. So I don't know how it goes out, but I just found that very interesting. And then I've got a bunch of messages that I've got to look back at. I don't know if I've got an order for something or what, but I know my daughter and her boyfriend, they both shot me a message saying, hey, you need to check your Instagram, but I haven't. I've been on with Martin all afternoon for the English side turning meeting, and so I haven't had a chance to check it. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going on, the activity on that side. But yeah, it's pretty neat. It's a learning experience.
It's amazing what the world's come through in the media right now.
Right?
I mean, all I say is
Yeah,
be careful. What you see might not be real, so just be careful what they show you. I do like if I can watch a video on something, if they don't cut it, they don't edit it, they just roll
Right.
through it, because that's real life. And some of these you see where they stop the camera, and then when they start up again, it's a beautiful sanded out piece. Mine don't come that clean, and I'm pretty darn good. But they don't, the sandpaper is going to be there, but you can't shape with sandpaper. That's the bottom. And you shouldn't try to really turn with sandpaper or rely on it to take out your errors.
Nope.
So
We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, about trying to get that surface where you don't have to start with the 60 and 80 grit gouge.
no, if you slice it, I don't want to steal your fire. If you slice it right, and you'll talk about that, you can eliminate that. I mean, it's all that loose nut on the end of the handle. That's what makes the big difference.
Right.
Coming up for Valentine's week, we're going to have a show me your crotch challenge.
Maybe Charlene.
Sometimes I get I'm parked here and I look at it and say, you know what? I got this one. Put it in there. Haven't been here very much this week in the shop. But getting a few things accomplished elsewhere.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah, getting pretty good at watching YouTubes on a selective basis. Some of them I don't want to learn from. I just want to be entertained by. And then there's others you wish you hadn't turned on.
Right.
Um, a guy did one the other day on turning acrylics or epoxy pins, and I saw him blow up 2 blanks.
Huh.
And he was talking about how they're so hard to cut, but he was going right at him at about 400, 500 RPMs with a gouge straight in.
Hmm.
And I said, that's a smart piece of plastic. Just blow up and get out of his damn way.
Way too slow.
Yeah. Well, if you stop and look on any tool, if you stop and look how they cut, I mean, pick up a stick and just pass it along a stick and see how it cuts. And if it's hard to cut in one position, that's not the position. If you can roll it around a little bit and rub on a bevel and slide it and do an angled slice and you see it peeling off, that's what you're looking for. I had a guy tell me, yeah, but I saw a video the other day and a guy had shavings flying over his shoulder. I said, is it that important that those shavings go over your shoulder? To me, it's just that they hit the floor. It's all right. But that's the type of where folks our age are getting into this as a hobby or a habit or an obsession or but and they're looking for tips and hints, and some of them have never worked with real woodworking tools and don't understand it. I've told this before, but I was working on a job as a carpenter foreman probably 50 years ago, and a guy wanted to borrow my wood chisel. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I was supposed to have a journeyman's box of tools, but he showed up with a nail bag and that was it. Can I borrow your chisel? I'm going to fix this hinge. And he gave it back to me a little bit later on. He said, I sharpened it for you. The bottom of the chisel, a wood chisel, should be dead flat. Dead flat. To pass it on a whetstone or waterstone dead flat or put the edge back on it. He sharpened it on a 4-inch grinder and sharpened both sides to come to a nice wedge like a kitchen knife. I lost a 1/4 inch of that chisel that day. I guess they figure if you pound on it hard enough, they'll do what you need it to do.
Mm-hmm. You see it like you were saying. You see a lot of folks here recently. Within the last year, that's been, I guess, getting into pin turning or getting into turning in general, having such issues with acrylics. And it's exactly what you said. They're just taking whatever tool they're using, whether it's carbide or one of the traditional gouges, and they're literally just going straight in, wrong technique, wrong presentation. Yeah, that's going to blow up every time. It's got nothing to do with the material.
And I sold carbides. We sold more carbides than most of the other firms each year, and it was okay to do. But some folks would call me, look, I'm using this thing, and I need a negative rake tip. Why do you need a negative rake tip? Well, the guy on TV is using one.
Yeah.
Again, why do you need a negative rake tip? I said, it's all right here. It all sleeps right here. If you go in here and you plow it, care what you do, it's going to break. If you learn how to glance it like Mark slices, you glance it off. You glance it off and slice it. Yeah, but that guy is selling negative rake scrapers. Bottom line. I get so bothered by the folks that do these promos just to sell the product, and it doesn't matter how the product works. That's the one I said where they edit the video, or you got to realize that guy is doing it. He's got 25 years experience, and you just watch it late.
Right.
Yeah. Dave Edwards says they don't know how to use tools. You're absolutely right, Dave. They don't know how to use tools. I mean, get the old-fashioned pocket knife out. And hell, let's go all the way. Let's take a pocket knife and a pencil and sharpen that pencil with the pocket knife. And you will find that if you do light slicing cuts, you'll be much more efficient, much more careful. Boy, is this knife dull? No. Yeah. But if you understand how it works, you won't walk up, put the knife on it and do that straight away, square away. That's what we call a scrape, folks. But I was talking earlier, if you watch how that tool cuts, just take the time. Don't turn the machine up. Don't put 4 sandbags on it to keep it from bouncing around the room. I actually saw a note on somebody else's forum. We don't have a forum. We have a Facebook page. On somebody else's forum, the guy was recommending how much sand to put on his 3520 to keep it from walking across the shop.
Lord have mercy. Wow.
I wanted to say the stupid prosper.
Yes.
Does that include?
it-
how
I
many
bet the
bolts to
guy
bolt
went
it
out and
to
bought the
floor?
sand too.
Pardon?
Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably went out and bought a bag of sand. Somebody called me. I was on a job that we were using, and I was talking about we were using 2-inch or 20-inch, 20 grade wrought iron rebar for a column on a sign pole. And I was mentioning to the guy, said, "Boy, this is fun. If you want to cut a piece off, it takes you 10 minutes with a porta band." And he says, "Oh, if you got some of those, I want to lay them across the bed of my lathe to hold it down." I never made delivery. I just didn't think I should be involved in that. And he was kind of gay. He had an electric chainsaw in the shop. I guess he just didn't figure, if you have to mount it, and you need to knock the corners off because it's really odd. You can do it while it's still mounted up. Just don't cut the chuck. So.
Problem is, these people that make these stupid suggestions, they have no repercussions. They should be the ones getting hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Charlie.
Well, they don't understand why it's happening. They just want it to stop happening. It's like saying my car doesn't understand stop signs, so I have to step on the brake. Well, the same thing happens here. Your tools in your wood don't understand what's happening, and you want to get around it. Well, teach them what you want to know. A club I used to belong to, they actually bolted a 16-inch jet down to the floor. Bolted into the floor. And I couldn't, it was just one genius after another that just said, we can make this work. Man, I'm cooking with gas tonight because I can't even figure out how to get my computer to work here. There it is. I touched the wrong button at the wrong time. I see Dean Grimes popped in. How you doing, Dean?
I'm doing well, Captain. Thanks for asking. Feeling a whole lot better, and getting ready to get back out in the shop here pretty quick.
They put you under the knife?
Yeah, they basically went in and did a heart cath, but they came in from the groin and from the wrist and came up 2 different directions and drilled that blockage out. Normally they would have to have done an open heart to get it open, but and do a bypass, but they were able to drill it out, which is pretty amazing when you stop and think about it.
Right?
Yeah, think about
Yeah,
what
that's
they're doing,
fantastic.
where they're doing it, and how much room they have.
Yeah.
Where do
I
you
went in-
get one of those? Where do you get one of those drills? I'd like to have one of those drills.
I'll tell you what, it
No,
puts a
right?
new meaning to a thin wall turning, don't
You got it.
it?
You wouldn't like the price.
One of the
Yeah, I
friends of
hope they
mine.
didn't run down to Home Depot and pick those up.
Yeah, Harbor Freight.
Exactly.
Yeah, it saves the money. Go to the rate. Yeah.
Friend of mine
I
had
gotta
a
go through.
friend of mine
I
had an
gotta go through.
aneurysm on two aneurysms on the left side of his brain, and they went through his right wrist and fixed him. Don't ask. I have no idea.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable the technology they have now compared to just what they had a few years ago.
Well, it's one thing to fix an aneurysm. It's another thing. How do you find your way up there? You know, there's a lot of stuff in the middle. You could come out
Right.
the guy's ear. You know, you're pretty close.
You got a good roadmap.
I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
I hope they got a good drawing when it gets started.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I went in to get a gizmo installed that communicates with a pad I lay on and sends the inpatient directly to the hospital. I'm supposed to do that every day. This hasn't been a happy week. I got to get back on track with that. But we in the hospital and the guy went right in my wrist. No, I'm sorry. He went in my neck. And he was going down and he told the people with the labs that were paying for the test, he said, I don't think we can make contact. And they said, you sure? Because we really want to pay the extra to go through the leg. And he says, oh, don't worry, we'll take care of that. But they plugged that one up, went down through the leg and went through the leg. I'm laying there awake the whole time. And
Bad choice. Bad choice.
yeah, but you know, it was a magical thing. I had blockages and clots and stuff like that and AFib. And when they did 4 different procedures for Abbott Labs. And when I got the 4th one done, the 5th one was supposed to be the pacemaker. And the doctor said, you don't need one.
Wow.
We got you running top of the list. And he did. He really did. And now I want to go by him and brag. I've lost 70 pounds. Look at this, doc. And he'll say, no. Right off the bat, I know he'll say, no, you gained 70 pounds. But when I had a couple of falls this summer, my GP, who was a really nice lady, but we were in a room, the meeting room or whatever conference, the consulting room, and my wife, she says, you fell. My wife said, he won't wear his brace. This really nice lady went, you will wear your brace. There was no cutting, no slack, nothing. You will wear your brace. Well, it's on right now because we were going to go pick up our dog from the kennel, and that's only walking like 50 feet to the building and 50 feet back. I couldn't go if I didn't put the brace on. That was the boss.
Have you noticed that wives cannot be quiet when the doctor asks something like that too?
It's in the
You
book.
got my wife laughing.
Just out of habit, I can't answer that.
Fell out of my chair.
Mine will tell off on me in a heartbeat.
Yep.
That's why mine
Yep.
wasn't allowed to go to my last doctor's appointment, Dean. But she still got a friggin' strong hold on me and won't let me do a damn thing. I
There you go,
can barely even piece of wood on the lathe right now.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I'm in na-na land right now. Na-na, don't do that. Na-na. Oh, she just heard me. I can, if y'all see a smack or you remember where I live.
Sorry, I'm gonna get all of us in trouble here.
Yeah, it's all your fault, Dean.
Dean.
We go to these doctors and they looking at, and I go to one of the finest hospitals in the entire world, and we looked into this place when I had the tumor and stuff, all that, and they're looking at the screen, and everything is on that screen. Every doctor I looked at, every visit, every medication I've taken or I'm taking right now, it's all on the screen. And they all look over and say, when's the last time you ate meat? if it's got 4 feet, I can't eat it. And
Right.
the boss has got us on that plan like you won't believe. That is the restriction. If I want a hamburger, I better die and hope God gives me one, because I'm not going to get one any other way. It's but yeah, after a while you say, don't you miss that? We've been at this hard for over a year, maybe a year and a half, really hard, and we don't. We have a hard time finding restaurants that we can go eat in. We have to be real careful about even the national chains. You know, did they get that produce in by a truck from Florida or Texas or California or something, and it's been treated with a preservative or a shiner or whatever to make it, look good when it goes into the store? None of that's permitted. And one of the guys said, if everybody that had kidney failure realized that and said, all right, this is the way around it. You can't necessarily, you shouldn't be able to improve the function of the liver, the kidneys. And we brought it up one whole point in the last year. And
That's awesome.
I called the guy the other day about they changed one of my happy pills. And I said, are we okay? And he looked at the chart and he says, yeah, you're okay. With me, you're on fine. And that type of thing, it's not like the guy across the street may give me something and this guy won't know what it's about. And I do like the system we're in. It's really great. And my boss likes it because they only got to pay one bill a month. It's a big bill, but you got to only pay one. So, all right, we're going to do a demo with pens. Dane Chandler's going to do it for tonight. And I just saw
Pen barrels. I'm not making a pen. I'm going to show my take on how you do pen barrels.
Oh, okay. Well, it's part of the program, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's all. I'm doing everything except putting it together.
Good. All right. That's something else. The guy I talked to, Arnie, he was talking about buying a pen press because you can't put the pens together any other way. I laughed a little bit and he says, okay, what's the deal? And I said, if you have one of those squeeze clamps from Harbor Freight, or you have a quill and a headstock, or just think about what you're going to do.
Bench vise or
Oh yeah, there's many ways to do that.
you definitely don't
have to.
one of these.
No.
Wow, I just broke
And
it. That adjusted wrong.
Yeah, well, and then I've seen where you get a pen and the tip doesn't go back in. The tip doesn't go all the way. The refill doesn't go all the way back into the tip. And what's this? And he says, I don't know. I did it like it's supposed to. No, you overpress the mechanism when you put it in, or you've trimmed the barrel so much that you can't get it all to work. And I've seen all these gizmos and gadgets and bars and you things and all. I think sometimes new turners or new woodworkers or new shop workers or whatever, they don't realize how much force you could put by pushing that lever down. They don't understand that the intensity or the magnification of that knuckle. It's just like on a quill of your lathe. I got this right here. Doom, doom, doom. Whoop, my headstock. Nope, that's my headstock over here. I'll get it right. And that's my taper, Morse taper going into it. And then I have the shaft coming out. Well, if I push on the very end of that shaft hard, that shaft is going to do this. It has to. It can't compress. It's going to flex. But if you change that to have it an insert that'll hold, that'll let it slide through, you can buy one of those ones on the market that's out there now, Miracle Pen Saver or whatever. Or you can just look at what you have in your own shop and get around it. Just figure out how to push on the bushings, not on the shaft. I have something called a soft touch. I started years and years ago, and I have one with a bushing. It fits on my tailstock. I have a revolving tailstock by one way. It's my tailstock. I take the pin out the tailstock and have a hole drilled in it. That hole is the size of the outside of a standard 7mm Penn bushing. That's it, just the bushing. And that is the sleeve this thing will ride on. Ride on meaning that's where my bearing is going to be. And when I put my mandrel through it and push on it, I'm metal to metal all the way through. I get a friction to hold it. I don't really need to hold it. I just need to guide it. But I haven't squished the shaft. I've put all the other parts together, but I haven't squished the shaft. And if you ever turn one that came out lopsided, you bent the shaft. Well, I got to buy a new one. No, you don't. You get a piece of wood and you straighten the other one out. Go buy a new one. Yeah. I grew up in a family where the carburetor didn't work on the tractor. You learned how to fix a lawnmower, a carburetor. There was no going to buy a replacement. That was absurd. I learned how to fix a lawnmower when I was 12 years old. Because if you didn't fix the power lawnmower, you had to push the rolling lawnmower. You learned how to fix a power lawnmower fast. You learn how to sharpen the blades with a file.
If you couldn't make it, you didn't have it.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Growing up, on the farm, we baled hay. We used the old sickle bars, for cutting the hay down. And got the pitman rod, that does the arm, to make that sickle go back and forth. And every now and then, I would have to walk in front, especially down by the wood line. And if I missed a tree limb that had fallen down, well, inevitably, shortly after, that sickle bar would find that tree limb, go in, it would block those blades from going across. And that pitman rod, which was made of wood, that was the fail safe, it would break. And so if you weren't able to fashion the new pitman rod, guess what? You weren't able to cut hay. The hay was going to get ruined because it was past its optimum protein levels and mineral levels for the livestock. And of course, we learned real quick back on the farm how to rough those out. And then later on, my dad would make them on this big metal lathe that he had got. But every year, we'd probably go through 3-4 of them, and he would just make sure that he had multiple pitman rods already made up for the sickle bars. But if you couldn't make it, you weren't going to be able to do anything. And so you learn that in that style of life real quick on how to make do with what you got.
It don't take long on the farm. You figure it out.
Yep. Yeah, that's where some real enterprising engineering takes place.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, there was a railroad track behind the house, and it became a boulevard years ago. But it was a railroad right away coming right through to the city. And they'd send prisoners out from the city prison to cut that grass along that right away. And I was real young, and my brother and I were out there watching them with my dad. And I said, you got one of those sickles. He said, they would give you one if you want to go get it. They'll give you one. And I said, oh, wow. And he says, and you'd bring it back so fast you won't believe it. And because that's just hard work. Stand-up sickle is just, I know those guys
you talking about the sickle, bend it to waste?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to use one of those for a long period of time.
No, you
No.
sure don't. But you know what?
Well,
When
no.
you're a kid, you got no choice because you didn't know it was, that type of stuff that would be outlawed today. Oh, that's slave labor of a child. Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, now they're arguing it's slave labor of a prisoner.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Hey, that law didn't pass in Louisiana. I followed that.
There's Dale. Doug, I'm sorry.
Howdy. I'm here.
Howdy, sir.
He's feeling a little bit better, isn't he?
Yeah, finally.
That's good.
Feeling better?
Yeah, this time last week, I felt like I'd just go ahead and die and get it over with. And today I can see the light of day.
Good
Yeah.
deal, man.
That's good, buddy.
Glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. The light at the tunnel and it's flickering. You want to get on solid, right?
Yes. Yeah. There for a while, it wasn't even flickering. It was tough.
As long
I
as
had
it's
one of
not a
those-
train coming at you.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
I had one of those 24-hour. I'm sorry, go Dale. Go ahead, Doug.
I was just going to say, I've known a lot of people who have had COVID and talked about it. But I've not had anybody talk about the way it felt, that first 24 to 48 hours, the way it felt to me. That was awful.
Hadn't you had
I
it
can
before
try.
though, Doug?
I'm sorry.
Didn't you have it before, or is this your
No.
first time?
First time I've had it. I've been vaccinated, but that's the
Yeah.
first time I've had it, and it hit me hard.
Maybe it's just a regular flu.
I thought about that, but we took a test, and it came up almost immediately that it was COVID.
So can I ask you what's the difference between the COVID and regular flu? I'm sure you've had regular flu over the years.
For me, flu is more overall body aches. I did have, as I remember, did have some fever and some chills, but this was like shaking, frozen kind of cold for 48 hours, and nothing seemed to help. My aches and pains were localized just in certain joints. I still have a headache. I've had a headache now for over a week. It's never subsided. It's
Feel
right here.
constantly tired.
Yeah,
Now,
constant.
that's what
tired.
we did.
Yeah, it's Dean. It's to answer your question. There are similarities, but there are differences as well. The hurts hurt worse.
Yeah.
The coughing with flu, for me, the coughing is hit here and there. With this COVID, it was nonstop for several days. So really today, just getting where I'm not constantly coughing.
Yeah.
You're gonna
So
feel
chills-
it
chills
change.
finally left.
I'm sorry.
The
I'm
chills.
sorry
have
I
finally
cut
left.
in on that. I say you're gonna feel them aches and pains for quite a while, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's gonna be with you for a while. I had
It's
it.
gonna
for that.
take- It's going to take about a year for the tiredness to go away. At least
Could
it
be.
did for us. You feel
Yeah.
run down all the time.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah, I've known people who had it way back in 2020 who still haven't gotten over it. Here we are coming into 23 now. So this is another thing. This is all the voice I've got. I'm going full speed right now. and this is not my normal voice by any means.
Want to give a demo?
Not tonight.
He's a little busy living.
That's a fact.
All these folks say that this shot and that shot all prevents things. All you need to know is what happened to Doug will affect him for a long, long time. So anything I can do to avoid it, I do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a shame those vaccinations don't work.
Yeah, Captain Eddie, I was I took a flu shot in 1980. And because it was really bad that year, within a half an hour, I was in an ambulance on my way to the hospital. They put me on one of those ventilators. I was in the hospital for about 3 years, or I'm sorry, 3 days. I will do anything to ever never have that happen to me again. Ever.
Yeah. I went without a flu shot years and years and years. We changed to this new hospital. To a doctor, I can't take a flu shot. I got sick. And he said, no, you got sick and then you had a flu shot. And I said, okay, what's the difference? He says, if you don't get sick first, you won't, and I said, oh, great. We've been doing it every year without fail. And hey, it's been a long time since I had a flu or even a cold that knocked my butt back. But, we went to the hospital today for a test and, wife and I went in with our mask. I looked around. The majority of the visitors didn't have a mask on, but every employee had a mask on. Yeah. And you want to say, people, pay attention. Look what's going on. They know what this is all about. They just don't let you shout that kind of stuff in the public. That's that. Pat says he's got the worst sickness he's ever had, and he had it twice. Whoa. Pat, somebody's looking out for you.
Antibodies. Yeah. Yeah, it really
Okay,
makes you
anybody-
wonder, what the media and everybody tells you on it. And then from that, I'll just leave it at that.
Well, you got to wonder if the genius of YouTube and social media has had a major influence on it.
No, I'm sure.
All these geniuses in on social media, they all have an expert advice,
Mhm.
and that's why I
that's
caution
true.
people. Yeah, do you really want to go down that road with your life?
Yeah, it's
And I don't.
caution's got to be there, going down that road. Yeah.
Just the minor precautions like washing your hands. Don't touch them around your face after you've been someplace. Those pump
Common sense
antibacterial.
practice you should be following
Yeah.
to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah. They say you should wash your hands and all this and tell you how to do it. Didn't we learn that in kindergarten?
Well,
We
that's what I
learned it in kindergarten, but they don't teach it anymore.
Like how to read a clock. They want to take all the regular clocks analogs out of the schools and put digitals in.
Well,
Really?
It goes hand in hand with not learning cursive, right?
That's a secret code now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
A lot
want to
of
know
people
how you
think
can
it's
live
Latin.
with somebody and have. My wife had COVID and I never got it.
Yeah,
How does
right.
that work?
That's a
Mhm.
mystery that no one has ever
Yeah.
been able to answer.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
with you
my
on that.
wife had it and I took care of her and did not get it. So
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to get it just because you're around somebody, but there is a risk.
My wife had it and they tested me and I had it. I didn't even know I had it. I never had a bad feeling at all. I just tested positive.
Wow.
No idea.
A lot of it has to do with your immune system. Some people are more immune to things than others.
Yeah, right.
Just like
Just
the
like
flu.
regular life.
Well, guys, one of the things, and it was about 3 years ago, I was calling on a customer who happened to be a doctor, and my sales consultant that I was with says, "Hey, always wanted to ask a doctor. So what do you guys do to keep from being sick all the time?" And he said, "Well," he says, "most physicians and nurses will take 2,000 or 3,000 cc's of vitamin C every day." He said, "But if the average American would just take 1,000, so it'd put most doctors out of business." I left there and went and bought 1,000 cc vitamin C tablets, and I've been taking them ever since. I have not had a single cold, the flu, COVID, anything since I started taking that every day. And I used to get it 2 or 3 times a year, as far as colds and flu.
I got a big kick out of the fact that in New Orleans, local station said we want all the kids in the schools to wash their hands after visiting the bathroom, after this and after this. Well, I renovated probably 8 or 9 high schools in my career. I remember the last one I did, there was 2 working water faucets in the whole complex. Only 2. Because kids would go in there, unruly kids, and they'd use them to do squirt fights and all this other stuff. And if they broke them, the maintenance staff said, don't worry about it. They broke it. They'll live without it. You tell them to wash their hands. They couldn't possibly do it. I just wish I was the maintenance plumber when that rule came out. Man, I could have went and made a couple $100 a faucet.
Right.
But then you got to think, if you have to tell somebody to wash their hands, there's a flaw in that whole program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, don't step on that nail. Why? Okay.
Go ahead, step on it. And tell your friends. Go ahead. I dare you.
I like the way you think, Dane. Cure that problem.
Hey,
at the source.
I'm just straight up, It's just, you want to be an idiot? All right, be an idiot.
It's like poking a snake.
Yeah. I
That's what
believe
they say.
I believe in Darwinism, we need to thin the herd and quickly.
I totally agree with that.
Hey, Dane.
Yeah.
I call that natural selection. If you're dumb enough to do it, you're dumb enough to get whatever you got coming.
Right? Absolutely.
I learned a whole lot of those terms when I was in the Air Force. It was like, I can do this. I'm strong and I'm rough. That wasn't in the TO to be strong and rough. It was, think about how to do it the best and not get hurt.
Right.
And in a bomb dump, we did a lot of things with crummy equipment and everything else because we were out of sight. We were way out there. And, we'd get guys out that were just coming out of school, have been rehabbed or whatever. Oh, yeah, let me show you how we can do this. It didn't last but a day or two. They're showing how you do this. That was, it's kind of like a redneck saying, here, hold my beer.
Yeah, they always love that reference when you say, is that what it says in the TO? Oh, you ain't got to follow the TO for everything. I'm like, oh, there's a reason why the TO's there.
Yeah.
It really
It's
does make
guidelines.
it easier because it's people like us that help create the TO.
Yeah. When I was in, they had a AFSC. That was
FSC.
AFSC, yeah. And you tested on your career level or your
Where your aptitude
ability to do such. Yeah. And because you had 2 tests, you had one of them see how good a airman you were, and then the other one was to see if you know your job. And I took a test at about 2 weeks before I went to Vietnam. I took a test, a series of tests, and I got there, and the master sergeant I was working with said, "How come you're not wearing buck stripes?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "No, really. In your book, it says you passed the test with flying colors. You've been promoted to buck. Nobody told you?" Nope. This was when you carried your entire record, your entire medical record, your entire military record in a folder with you when you move from place to place.
Yep, your PIF.
Yeah.
And then when you PCS, you went through your PIF and you like, yep, that's out. That's out.
Yep. Oh, I got an Article 13 one time, or an Article 15 one time. That didn't last long.
Yep.
They gave me the only copies.
Yeah, been there.
All I can say is it was lost.
Right. All right. Well, hey, let's get back to realism here, and let's go to Doug for a bit of show and tell. What you
All
got,
right.
Doug?
Well, I was so grateful that Dave records our show, our meeting, and I got to watch it back last week. And Billy was showing his 3-sided pieces, and I wanted to jump in there so badly as I was watching on whatever day that was, Friday, I think it was. I did a 3-sided walnut piece. Let me hold on in so you can see for sure that that's 3-sided. That was
Yeah.
the first time I did something off-sided or off-center like that, and it came out okay. So in my discussion with him and a couple other folks who have done some 3-sided things, I'm going to explore this a bit further. You probably can notice, I hope you can notice, it's flat from here down to here, but then from there down, this is all round. I only did it part way, and that was intentional. I wanted the contrast between the flat of the 3-sidedness and that rounded. Good chatoyance in that walnut right there on
Very
that
nice.
facet. And then you come around over here. Here it is again on that third facet. Pretty interesting how that all works out. That was just a junk piece of walnut to give this a try. And it came out, I thought it came out really well. So I'm going to explore that a little further.
All right.
First one I did was by mistake.
Yeah.
I was teaching somebody how to do something off center, and I moved it wrong. I moved the wrong piece the wrong way, and I made a cut. And he saw the cut, and I stand there looking at it and thought, well, you know what? I want to mark these 2 spots and then do it again, and it came out nice. I had a piece here for years, and I remember the wife saying, "It's crooked."
Can you do it again? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's go to Dave. Hey, Dave.
Hey, I've been working on a little maple.
Ooh. Look at that.
This little piece.
That's pretty.
Yeah, thank you.
Good deal.
What do you have on it for a finish, Dave?
Basically, it's there was some sanding sealer and then carnauba wax. Just
Hold it up a little higher.
buffed it in.
Hold it up higher. To your left. There you go.
There you go.
Very nice.
And then I wanted to
You know, that's a-
experiment with a little bit different edge.
Is that concave at the top when he goes in? Yeah.
Yes, it is. By about a quarter of an inch. And then it gets down to maybe 3/16 down here.
Yeah.
It's nice. It gives a good sharp edge to the top, which you don't get with many other shapes.
Yeah. And
Looks
that's
good.
maple. That's maple too. And then this is a project that I'm currently working on. It's a piece of walnut. And I haven't finished the bottom yet, but I got the inside done. And I have the inside of the top done. It's hard to see.
Yeah, we got it.
But all I have to do is figure out how to hold it so that I can get the top done.
Double stick tape.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, good quality double stick tape, not the drugstore stuff. But if you create a face block that'll go against, that's got almost the same impression or depression that you have on your block, so you don't get any walk and wobble, and it'll help center it up. So
Yeah, if this
now
was flat, I would have a lot easier time with it, but this has a nice little peak in the middle.
So you divot your faceplate to get a good solid matching, and then find the center and bring up your tailstock to locate the center, and you might be down the road on that.
Yeah, but this little piece of walnut, I was really surprised it came out nice.
Good.
And this again, it's there was some sanding sealer, and then it's Carnova wax. Spun in.
Boy, I like that finish. I like that finish. Look at that. I
Leaps and
can see
bounds.
me.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that finish. It
You
came
can
out
see
nice.
a screen in
Doing
the
excellent there,
reflection.
Dave.
Yeah. But between that and babysitting for my new grandson, that's about all I had time for this week.
Lucky dog babysitting your
Looks like you
grandson.
had a-
All right.
Oh, yeah. He just
Good
turned
showing.
5 months old, and I'm having a lot of fun.
I
There you
bet.
go. Yep. All right. And then, so let's go to Ray.
Okay,
Wait. Hey, Dane, before you keep calling folks, watch out what's in line. There's an outlaw in line. Do you see it?
Oh, yeah, I already see him.
All right. Be careful about that. Ray, that's not you we talk about, Ray.
Oh, okay.
You on? All right. No, you're in a seat. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Well, I've had a couple weeks of frustration, and maybe somebody can give me some pointers. I was watching the world soccer matches, and I thought, that little ball that they're kicking around, I ought to be able to make one. And that was a mistake on my part. After 3 iterations, this is what I've
Wow.
come up with. And I'm hoping next week to work with maybe some maple and walnut. But you can see there's some glitches there that I've got to figure out how to fix. And I've never turned a round object like this by itself, just with using tools. So it's been quite a challenge.
Is that solid or hollow?
It's hollow.
Okay.
Segmented.
That's great.
In fact, the next one I do, I will take the top out of this and make that a lid, and it'll be hollow inside and finished. But I didn't want to go to all that work with just pine and fir. But I've gone through a lot of wood trying to get to this point.
Wow. Well,
I don't know if anybody else has
That's
done it, but,
impressive.
You are a segmenting fool.
Once you get it mastered, demo.
Yeah, it'll take about 2 weeks to do a demo on this. There's, Can you kick it? There's 12 pentagons, which are the dark pieces, and 20 hexagons. And that all has to fit together and get the right angles and everything.
Yep.
And I just use 1x4 pine or fir to do this. So it's quite a learning experience, I'll tell you.
I'm glad you went to me first,
know it.
because I'd hate to have to follow that.
It's got beautiful green.
Exactly.
How far
So
can
it's,
you
Tell you
kick
what,
it?
Ray, you're on your way. That's
Well, I think I'm on my way to a funny farm, but I'll
Somebody
hold
showed,
off a week before I start the other one and regain some.
somebody showed
Yeah.
soccer
Sanity.
balls last week, and they may be able to chime in on that. I forgot who it was, but someone was turning a couple soccer balls last week. Might
There's
be
a
able-
guy on YouTube, Frank Howard.
I don't recall the soccer ball being showed last week during the
There was no
meeting.
soccer ball shown.
Yeah,
I
maybe,
didn't think so.
maybe
did
I was looking
watch-
at something else, guys. I apologize.
I did watch several on YouTube, but even with that, my gosh, the trying to get all these angles and getting everything just cut perfect, it is a chore.
Yeah. Wow.
Wish you'd paid attention to 7th grade math now, right?
Yes. I sure glad I have all the digital stuff, because I can't imagine using a protractor and trying to come up with these angles.
Yeah.
That's
Well, you got-
what amazes
That's
me is
excellent.
the piece, the way I'm looking at it right now, with 5 hexagons around the pentagon, that is just in itself, if it was flat, that would be beautiful work. This changes the whole program. and symmetry. I mean, it looks very, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I will be taking these 5 and the center one and then lifting those out, and that'll make a lid, and then it'll make a bowl.
Yes, it will. Very, very treasured bowl. It never get out of my hands.
Well, and this, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. It's just garbage, but I thought maybe you might be interested in looking at it, and maybe have somebody has done it, and any suggestions, appreciate it.
All right, we're going to bring this up again later on. We're going to ask you to show it again, Ray, so we can get in, because folks are not watching right now with us right now. We're going to look for them to give us some input also.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right.
All right, let's go to, where is he? He's all the way down here. Mr. Hatch. Hey, Tim.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? So I
All right.
been out in the shop for a little bit, not much, still recovering from surgery. Wife not letting me do a dang thing. So I did turn a little vase, start doing a little weed pot, and of course, you follow that rule. The inside diameter cannot exceed the outside diameter. Yep, I did. I smacked it there, and the whole dang thing split apart halfway through. I pieced it back together, and I'm waiting on the glue to finish drying, and I'll give it a little sand and a return and see if I can salvage this thing, but not bad. The biggest problem that I had was using those small hollowing tools. I was not using my elbow tool or anything because it's such a small piece. But as I got down to about this area right here is where I got the catch. So we're looking at, that's 4.5, almost 5 inches in. So overhanging off the tool rest, tool definitely wasn't big enough to do the job. And, stuff happens, but it's a good learning experience. I love that new Powermatic 2014. It is doing me justice. I just need to get out in the shop a little more, but wanted to say, hey, Merry Christmas for everybody that was not here last week, and Happy New Year to everybody. So have a good one.
Right on. Thanks, Ken. All right, now let's go to this guy. Eddie, are you ready? Here we go.
I'm ready. Oh, man.
There he is.
Hey, what's happening? So look at what
Doug.
my son's girlfriend did. They put my logo on a hat.
Nice.
Let me grab them. Here we go. So I made 2 little thingamabobbers recently. Played around with the colored pencils again.
Yay.
Cool.
It's tiny. And
You must be
then
one of Dollar Tree's greatest customers.
in a bowl made out of, I don't know how to say the kind of wood. One of my buddies gave it to me. Is that backwards? Oh, there we go.
I just thought you really figured out how to engrave it upside down.
But the other cool thing I got for Christmas that doesn't work yet, my boys went in together and they ordered me a set of the Carter and Sons turning tools, one of their sets. I think it was called the Essential Wood Turning Set or something like that. And I was super excited, opened it all up, and I'm like, it's missing the set screws. And then I realized, oh no, it's missing the set screws and the adapters to make the handles. But I called them and they're taking care of it for me. And then I saw Doug Miller's on, right? I think right when I popped on, Doug Miller was showing his gallery. So Doug Miller, you saved me in another situation that you don't even know that you saved me on. But it was your idea, or I got the idea from you, to quit taking my chuck off every time I need to put my spur drive in, just stick the spur drive in the chuck. And I've been doing it that way ever since you showed it to me. Well, then the other day I'd been using my vacuum chuck and I told myself, don't forget to disconnect that. Otherwise you're going to have troubles later. And I forgot to disconnect it and I'm using my spur drive. And I went, oh no. and then realized, oh, but it's inside my chuck, so I'm okay. And I just took the chuck off. So thanks, Miller.
I guess you're
How
welcome.
about that?
And then I got a bunch of wood turning shirts. Yeehaw!
Yay,
I'm
buddy.
American wood turner.
Yeah.
What else did they get me? I got the one that says "Excuse me," and then it's got a big picture of a skew on it. That was kind of funny. Yeah, it was a good wood turning Christmas for me. Happy to see y'all again.
Yeah, definitely. Glad to
Great
see you
seeing you.
back.
You're on break right now from school, huh?
I am. Yeah. No school. We go back. We got out late. They kept us in school all the way through the 23rd. So we don't. Our first day back to school isn't until January 9th.
No, there you go. Yeah, enjoy your free shop time.
Yeah, I sure am.
Good. All right, let's go to, let's see.
Good
let's
seeing
see
you,
what
Doug.
Heather's got here for us. Hey, Heather.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So today I have has we switched videos yet? Yeah. Okay. I've got this poplar bowl that I made, and I used iridescent colors on it. I guess you can't really see it very well here.
Yes,
They're pretty shiny.
That's really pretty.
Oh, yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
Oh
pretty.
yeah,
It's really
Wow.
jumps out.
definitely.
Wow.
I used 3 different colors on it, 3 or 4, I think, actually. But it's my first try with the iridescent paints, and I really like them, actually. So they turned out really well.
Oh, you did well with them.
Yeah, very
You
nice.
did really well with them.
Nice
That was
job.
nice.
What was your technique, Heather?
I just kind of splattered it on there everywhere, and I put a saran wrap, like a plastic wrap, over top
Yeah,
to kind of blur the colors together a little bit.
yeah, it looks good.
But yeah, I painted the base black with a black spray paint, and then the iridescent colors on top. So yeah, that turned out pretty good. And I got the David Springett Turning Full Circle book, I think it's called. And in there he has streptohedrons. So I've been turning those lately. You actually turn it shaped like that, but it's a split, and you take one side and twist it, and you glue it back together, and it's actually just one side.
I like those. I did a competition at a club I was president of a long time ago,
Cool.
where we had a challenge to turn those.
Isn't that like a femisphere?
A femisphere, or they called it a streptohedron in this book. It's a one-sided 3D object. So that's the first one I made was there, and this one is like a hexagon. But then when you glue it together with a half twist, it has a bit of a swirl to it.
Cool.
It's kind of
That's really nice.
hard to see on camera how it's shaped, how it works. But, yeah.
No, don't look at the wood, folks. Look at the lines.
Incredible.
Right, exactly. Oh, yes.
So
Yeah,
it's a one-sided object too. If you follow it around, there's only one side. You follow it around. So there's just one side on it.
We did them. We called them a philodendron.
Yeah, a philodendron. That's a flower.
Yeah, philodendron.
Okay.
Hans
people got one.
Westphal in Germany makes those, and he makes them to where they'll walk across the table.
Yeah, that's what this one does. It kind of wobbles across the table. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I've been doing lately. I'm just going to do one of the projects out of the book every once in a while, and pretty soon I'll do all of them.
How well does it spin?
It doesn't spin. It just wobbles on the table.
No, it looks like you could spin it.
No, it doesn't spin.
Okay. No. Have you tried?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's off shape,
Yeah.
it just doesn't.
It's not balanced.
Yep.
This pretty work. And that's not I'm going to use this cheeky project or toy. That is some really good turning, and it's excellent turning practice because her dimensions had to be perfect and concise.
Yeah,
because
they do.
you're turning it 90 degrees, so every
it looks
round
like,
has to be the same profile.
yeah, it just looks like this on the lathe. All you see is like half of it, right? And all of these sides have to be exactly the same length. And there's a 120-degree angle here on the corners. Every corner will have 120-degree angles on it. And
Heather, I
exactly the same length, or it doesn't glue up square. You'd have big overlaps here on your seams.
Did you cut that on the bandsaw, or did you actually glue two pieces together to begin with?
I glued two pieces together with the paper joint.
Okay.
So you have to wind it up.
Split them apart and turn them. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I watched you do this one on your channel today, and you did a very good job of cutting out your pattern and making sure you stuck to it. You made sure you weren't hedging that in any way. You had it dead on. So that's why it works out.
I checked it a lot. Yeah. In the video, I only showed me checking it a couple times, but I probably checked it 20 times before I was done.
I bet.
There's a lot of editing in the video.
It's a lot of fun getting
to
that as you're going right to that point. To that point. You know?
Yep. And then if your angle goes out of whack, then you're screwed. You might as well just throw it in the fire pit.
Go and look into a Femisphere, and you'll really have a good time with that.
Oh, I'll have to try that out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you'll love it.
I love geometry, so I like geometry. So this is right up my alley.
Scott, thanks. You're correcting me. That is correct. The Femisphere. I'm trying to find it I'm trying to find the little note drawing on my computer, and I looked under the wrong category. But it makes for a very interesting turning.
Yeah.
We had fun, especially if you do it with two different colored woods. I mean, you can see the grain in that one, but two absolutely different colored woods, and you put them together with my old favorite double stick tape.
Yeah.
And just where you're going to turn it at, those surfaces have to be dead flat.
That's right. Yeah.
Be interesting.
Yeah. I had fun though.
Well, thanks for sharing. That's great.
You're welcome.
Right. Good seeing you, Heather.
All right.
Thanks.
So we're going to go across the pond and we're going to see something that's really, really cool.
What is really, really cool?
Well, we're all going to find out. Hey, Martin.
There he is. I saw his picture on Facebook the other day. He was standing with a Canadian outlaw, Cade Bolger.
Dane. Sorry, I haven't been around for a while. I was away for a few weeks, and time is always of the essence, especially at Christmas time. Dane's thrown it over to me because earlier on I was showing Dane one of the unfortunate things that I don't like doing is demonstrating. But my local club had asked me whether I could stand in on a demonstration for an hour for their Christmas party night. So I agreed to that. But I needed to come up with a demonstration that would be less than an hour and also of interest to turners. That's always the difficult part to do. Come up with something that's of any interest to a group of guys that are all different levels of turning. Don't know if I can share screen.
Go ahead, please. You can share it. Go ahead.
Might be able to. I saw. We should be able to
there
see
it comes.
I saw these party popper cannons. Don't know if anybody's come across them, but as I was looking around to get some inspiration, I come across these party popper cannons. As a production turner and somebody that sells his work, I need to look at something like that and think, how long is that going to take me? There's a lot of areas here. There's 4 wheels to turn. These bits are done on bandsaw. There's bits to glue together. So I thought that was really quite a good idea, but really quite time consuming for me. And I needed to come up with something a little bit simpler. So what I did was I set 2. And as always, the first one that you make is never right. But the first one I made was massive in size, but simplified. Having made several of them, I eventually got a prototype that I was happy with and a way of turning it that I was also prolific with. And that is my version of being on the screen. The reason it became quite a good demonstration was you've got lots of disciplines. You're gluing on the lid, you're also turning off center underneath. So the actual design has become very simple. I make them with a plunger. So you have a plunger. So there's only 9 inches of timber, inch by inch square, to produce this. The hopper goes into the top, plunger,
So cool.
all the way through to the back, comes out at this end, and then you can pull a string through, which releases the string.
Boom.
A lot of fun was had on Christmas Day with 9 of these round the Christmas table. For very little cost and several minutes of turning. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I know Dane said, I've never seen one of them before, and I really like that idea, Martin. So Dane, he got a personal demonstration tonight. I'm sorry, guys, but Dane was around and he got a personal demonstration. So he might show you how to make it one day, but that's the idea. And that's the design I come up with. And if anybody wants to, I mean, like I said, you could color the wheels, you could texture the wheels, you could make the cannon. What I would say is keep your cannons quite short, because the longer the cannon is, the less the party popper protrudes. It's quite short. I will also say it's a lot more fun on Christmas Day if you put your party popper in and then you put a Brussels sprout in front of it. And you can fire the Brussels sprouts across the Christmas table. I'm not saying it's fun for but if you put your popper in and a Brussels sprout at the front, they work great.
Well, Martin, you know what I think? You know how last Christmas the gnomes were really popular?
Yeah, I know what you're going to say about that.
This next coming Christmas, that's what's going to be the big thing.
Party popper cannons.
In the UK, I've already got the market because I've cut 150 blanks today. Tomorrow I will do another 150 blanks, and I should have maybe 400 or 500 of these by the end of the week made.
Yeah, they haven't caught on quite here yet. So I'm thinking this Christmas I'll probably be making a good 1,000 of them before Christmas rolls around.
But that's as easy as that.
Yeah, it was a very intuitive demonstration that Martin gave me. I'm inspired, and I appreciate it so much.
Good.
Yeah, I wish I was in on that demo. Man, I missed it.
Well, you bowed out early.
See a demo.
I'll have to put a demo on. I'll have to put a demo on. I'll do one at some point and put it in the chat. Not that I do demos.
How's the wheels attached to the cannon?
Yeah, right. When I first did these, because they were just for me, they were for Christmas Day, it was a bit of a demo, I decided that it would work quite happily with a bit of super glue. So the first 2 or 3 that I did, I just super glued them on. Because I want to sell them and I want to put them to market and I'd like to sell them to other people, I don't like sticking things together like that. So now what I do is I drill a dowel into the base. Where's the one that I did the demo on? This one. I drill a dowel through this base part all the way through there and into the cannon. It comes right into the cannon. And then what I do is put a little bit of super glue around the outside of the dowel and push that into the cannon, making sure that it doesn't protrude to stop the party popper going down the barrel. What I will say is when you put your super glue on the little dowel and you push it into the cannon, make sure you don't have super glue on the end of the peg. Otherwise, you're all going to look very silly when you come along next week with these stuck to your fingers. So just put super glue on the ends. Just put a little dab around the outside, and then basically it slides through, and you can just sand the end up at the bottom. And that then secures them very tight. Nothing to them. Everybody on screen should be able to turn one of them. Isn't that right, Dane?
Yes,
Dane,
it is.
I was doing his demo tonight. I've never seen so
easy.
3 pieces of wood.
See it. Yeah. 2 pieces
Well, let's
of
admit
wood.
the idea.
Like a good idea.
Yeah, I like the idea. Where do you get the party?
You got the wheel and axle.
Where do you get the party poppers?
Party poppers here in England, I bought them at Tesco, my local. You must have them in Walmart.
Yeah. Right now, for New Year's Eve, they got them at all the stores. Packages of them.
According to our news, your Walmart has everything, absolutely everything. So you must be able to buy them places like Walmart, any of the party shops where you would buy balloons, cards,
Party house.
and
Party houses like that, you can buy them year round at those.
Yeah, year round at party house.
Party poppers are pretty much a standard size. I use a 28mm Forstner bit to drill the barrel because a party popper is around about 25mm. Sometimes you get a bit of plastic on the outside, which makes it 26. But a party popper should be a fairly standard size.
I like that, Martin. That's a good idea.
The only thing you need to remember, that some of you might not have noted, is when you drill a barrel, it's got to be quite tight towards the end of the cannon because the party popper needs to come out. It's got to protrude. It's got to come out of the cannon. Otherwise, you can't get the string, and there is no way you will be able to feed the string down the barrel and get it through here, through the bottom. So your party popper must come out of the end of the barrel. Mm-hmm. So the 28mm Forstner bit comes down to that line, that black line. Then you've only got about 5mm of the 10mm bit that drills the hole through.
And for those here, 28mm is 1 1/8 inch.
Yeah. What's 10mm?
Is it 10mm? Oh, I thought you said 28.
No, there's 2 holes. No, it's 28. You're right.
Yeah.
The Forstner bit is 28mm, so 1 and whatever.
And 5 is like a 1/4 inch.
1/4 inch.
Yeah.
That's the hole at the back.
Now, while we have you here, Martin, we're always looking for gallery projects for the meetings. I think July 4th, we're going to have a cannon blast.
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah, July 4th. Put it on your calendar, folks.
Can I just say July 4th is my... Yeah.
Well, yeah, we see we're going to
we
shoot
go.
against you. You can shoot against us.
Perfect.
All right, Martin, thank you for sharing that. You've
That's
inspired
very nice,
another
Martin. Thanks.
70 people, so that's awesome.
This is hilarious. so cool.
We're gonna have to make magnums.
Yeah. So, all right, Eddie, I've got one more online here for gallery. And then while he is showing his item, I would like for you to take back control of the spotlight. And then during that time frame, I'm going to set my phone up and get it ready for demoing. And so I can get on with demoing because I don't want to run past my time of having to stop and go give my cat an insulin shot. So, and I don't want to
We can do it.
interrupt
All
the
right.
demo and do that. So let's go to Dave George. Hey, Dave.
Are you there?
There he is. Yep, we got you.
Okay. I was inspired by Doug Miller a little while, couple weeks ago. He did a demo on lidded boxes, and it made it look pretty simple. And so I did some lidded boxes, and let me get back here. Here's one, and this one, I do not know what the wood is, but the top finial is walnut, and I got it to fit right.
There you go.
And so, it actually, came out fairly well. Finial looks a little robust, but at the same time, I'm trying to figure out you look at how big your box is and proportionally what should your finial, be like. So I'm playing around with that. And then
I remember we got a no butt guarantee. Just a suggestion: look at the 5 composition. It's really almost 1/3 and 2/3. I think there's a handful of gadgets you can build in your shop, and Dave Rose might have one on our website. It's a very simple little device, but it helps you do proportions on the width to the height, and then a height to the height, and then a height to divisions for the proper lift. It all puts it into the happy eye.
Yeah.
There's no rule. It just puts it into a happy eye.
And that, yes, and so I'm working on that. And so then I figured, well, that worked out pretty well. And so Doug made it look so easy. So then I made another one. And I actually turned this finial today, so it's not glued on yet. But made another one, and this is out of spalted cottonwood. And I was going real great with this thing until I got down to the lid wouldn't quite fit right. So I was using 150 sandpaper, and I just kissed the edge of this here, and now it rattles. And so that's how quickly it goes from being a nice fit to not fitting. And and again, the finial, which I need to glue in, I made that out of pine, and I ebonized it with Sharpie, and I put some 3408 over the top of it. So yeah, I'm just experimenting on that. But I thought it kind of matched. Get it over here. There's some.
It's a really nice design.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I try to get it a little thinner too, but then I thought it would make complement the black lines and the spalting of the cottonwood. But one of the questions I have is when you start looking at this ridge right here, or the lip where the lid is going to go on, is there any special design? Is that supposed to be like it's almost like a ridge on the top in the middle of it, so it claps down on? Or I'm just shooting from the hip, trying to look at it and trying to figure out how it should be designed so it actually you get a tight fit. So I'm looking for some information there.
Okay, so I can explain that real quick for you. What you want to do is you want the very top of that tenon that the lid fits over,
yes,
to be smaller, and then that tenon gets thicker towards the middle.
Okay.
And then towards the bottom it gets thinner again.
Okay.
And that way it creates a compression. It compresses the fibers of the wood when you put the lid on it, and it'll hold it on better.
So the secret then is, so that makes sense. So, but it depends on how the tenon is on this here. You don't have a lot of room to try to work that ridge in the middle, actually. So, but that's just I just need to have practice on that. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. I have one other thing to show is I think someone was making a demo. Was it last week? A Christmas ornament. And so I figured I could try to make a Christmas ornament. And so I started turning, and I was going to do it out of a kind of a small wing bowl. So I started turning this, and I was trying to emulate Cade up in Ontario, see how thin I could get it. And so I was working away at it, and then I was sanding on it. And the next thing I knew is that this little piece here was flipped up onto my headstock, and I figured, okay, I got it too thin, wafer thin. So then I went back to the drawing board, and I actually turned this as a.
I like that.
That's very pretty. Very
Yeah.
And so this here is, this is a limb I had out in my yard. I have no idea what kind of wood it is. This here is off a poplar, and this here is some pine up on top. And so this wing bowl, basically, which is upside down, is at the top now, it has a hole drilled through it, and this finial here has a tenon that goes up through the top, and then the finial up here has a hole that sits down on top of it. So it's not glued together yet. It's just a tight fit. So so I felt pretty good that I could actually get an ornament done like this. And so I have another one of the mate to this top already in between centers on my lathe, and see if I can do a little better job of maybe thinning it down here in order to try to make some more of these ornaments. The other, and I ended up using a mini step, I think called a mini step chuck, jaws in my chuck, in order to, I made a tenon on the back on this one right here before I when I was turning it, so I could hollow it out. And I had to, actually, I tore it off the tenon, but I got a catch. And so then I had to add enough wood, I could redo it and make the tenon longer. But, you know, I'm not sure I'm even using my mini step jaws properly when it comes to these small things. You don't have a lot of wood to grab. So any information or help on that is always welcome too. So, but I appreciate all the ideas that I get off of here, and Doug, you make it look real good and make it look real easy, but I'll have to keep working on it.
Just takes practice.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. All right. You see that? We do these demos and people take them on and play with them and come up with some nifty ideas. And I tell you what, that was a unique idea right there on that piece. I've seen some on the chat tonight. There's good stuff on the chat. Before you leave, Donald says save the chat. I didn't see Donald up tonight on a scoreboard tonight. No, Donald's not with us. He's our Australian contact. But let me talk a little bit about what I saw in the chat. And that was somebody who said, can I see what Heather's website is where the video is? Yes, we can share that with you. But more than that, we don't have a membership list. We have a contact list. So if you would tell us, it is absolutely free, not required, nothing else. That's it. This is a voluntary thing. If you tell us what you'd like to have on our contact list, go to your chat thing right now. Put in Eddie Castellan, New Orleans, Louisiana, phone number. I don't remember it right now. My website, my Facebook page, et cetera, my YouTube channel. Whatever you want to share with other members of this group, that's where you share it. You put it put it in the chat. Our webmaster, a master webmaster, will take it out of the chat and put it on our contact list. Then he'll post the chat to our internet, our website. So the information's between us, and then it goes on to the website. And how do you get a copy of it? On a website, there's a thing on the contact things, there's members list. Click on it, fill it out. The subject is CAPTAIN, capital CAPTAIN. Follow the rest of the rules on that card. Follow all the rules on the card and enter it. In a moment or two later, you'll get a copy of the contact list. Feel free to come back and get a revised copy anytime you want. There's no charge, no obligation. We ask that you don't share it. I said, we're so public, it's unbelievable, but we don't want to be feeding the bots. We don't want this to go to a commercial operation that gets bonuses for all the contacts they get or anything like that. So let's keep it between ourselves. But everybody's a legitimate wood turner can get it. Legitimate wood turner. Let's take the professional thing. Okay, there's no such thing. On Valentine's, the day after Valentine's, February 15th, we're going to have a gallery show. I got to quit calling them competitions because they're not really a competition. We're going to have a gallery show, and it's going to be entitled "Show Me Your Crotch." Now, this should make Doug Roach so happy that we gone down that road. But we want to do a crotch, and I thought I had a photograph to call up my share screen, but it can't get there. But this is turnings made from the crotch of a tree. Whatever you want to do to that, and I've seen some very unique things done. I've seen them turn into vessels, platters, bowls, rocking tables. All that stuff can be done with. It's a piece of wood that you can work with, and that's where we wanted to go. So that's going to be the one for February 15th. Now I'm working on another one. Where I go? I have my notes here. This crotch. Oh, we have a beads of coverage program that would like to get your beads of coverage. We'll have more details on that and how you get the parts and pieces. And we'll target that for SWAT. And oh yeah, I'm looking for a second demonstration each week. A second demonstration, and we'll call them a mini. I want 5 or 10 minutes tip on what you do with what you have and how you do it. Any part, anything. And we don't want you to sell it. We just want you to explain it. If you made a jig to do this or a gizmo to do that or anything like that. But we want a full 5 minutes of it. And if it takes 10 or 15, that's what we're here for. So I got to check and see if Dane says he's ready. Dane, you say you're ready? All right. I guess Dane's not.
He's muted.
All right. Well, I did. Oh, I can't unmute you, Dane.
Yes, I'm ready. So
all right.
If you can spotlight me.
I got to remove mine and see if you pop up. Talk.
Yeah, I'm here.
I got him, Eddie.
Okay,
right,
thank
great,
you, sir.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Get me spotlighted, and so everybody can see me.
Well, we can see the overhead camera on your lathe. We can't see you.
Well, thank you. That's what I was going for, because we want to watch the turning and we don't want to look at me. So, all right. So tonight, I had to copy everybody else with their fancy little white clipboards, but I didn't have any white paint, so I used red. So I don't know how that's coming through, and I can't look on my camera. But can you see my chuck?
Yeah, it looks just fine,
Looks
Dane.
good.
Everything? Okay, great. So what we're going to do tonight, and this is more about what I was trying to explain last week, and it really doesn't matter what the project is, but it's about how you're cutting or you're slicing the material. And if you approach each cut with the technique that will allow you to do a final cut, if you do every cut when it matters as a final cut, or that one last dreaded cut that everybody fears until you get over that hump, when you do it each successive time, when you're milling your blank, making your bowl, making your box, whatever type of vessel it is, then you're never going to fear that, well, I just got one more pass and I'm done. And so that's what I want to demonstrate by doing a basic 10 blank, 10 barrel. And we're going to do it with brass. And we don't have to have the brass adhered to the barrel. So you can literally just make these with one piece of brass. And literally you can make them without the brass. And of course, every now and then they stick. To include acrylics. And I'm also going to show how you don't need a barrel trimmer or a jig that you set up on top of your tailstock to go into a sanding disc to trim and flush your blank. And all you got to do is use your skew to flush each side. So we're going to try and demonstrate that tonight. Any questions?
Sounds good to me.
No questions. Great, great, great. All right, so we're going to start brass tacks at the very beginning with the exclusion of cutting and milling the blank. So I'm going to start off with a 3/4 inch blank. And we're going to be doing a basic Wall Street, AKA Sierra Monarch style pin blank. And so, and again, I can't see because the important part of my camera is blocked by the tripod apparatus.
You're okay, right so there over the decal. You're doing great.
Right on. And so I've got my blank cut where I've probably got strong 32nd on the right hand side and a super strong 32nd of an inch on the left hand side. So about a 1.5 millimeters. All right. And because I quickly cut these blanks, I just want to make a smaller square on the inside so I can more easily find my center. And so I'm just going to overhang my pencil on my finger. I'm going to use my fingertip as a fence. And I'm just going to make a smaller box on the interior here so that I can find the center more easily. And I guess you can do both sides because some lathes don't have a quill, don't have the quill travel to allow you to drill completely through. So you just do the same thing on both sides. Then you come in with your center marker, and all I do is I just come up through the center to the point where I know where that hypotenuse is. This is how we were talking about so much geometry. So we're talking about a square, b square equals c square, and that's as long as I'm going to talk about it. Then you come in and boom, now you got your center. And then you do the same. Hold on a minute. I'm hearing a cat out front. Hold on. That might have got outside by accident. Hold on. Kitty, kitty. Oh, it's not my cat. Wow. Sorry. Always trip out about cats getting out. And so we'll flip it over on the other side. Come in. And I got the center. And then we're going to be turning between centers. So I'm going to be drilling. I got to move this out of the way. And so what I do to make sure that I'm always finding my dead center for the blank is I align it and I pull back, on that little divot that I just made against my live center. Then I engage it about a half inch down into the chuck jaws, and then tighten them to hold that blank. And that'll make sure that you have your blank being held optimally. And so now you take your live center out, and we'll put the Jacobs chuck in. So typical Jacobs chuck, since we're doing a Wall Street. So this is a 2764 drill bit. And we're just going to bore straight through this. And so I'll advance the live center to just where it's barely touching. When I drill, I include air. The air helps clear the chips. More importantly, it keeps the drill bit nice and cool. I will be drilling at somewhere in the 300 RPM range. I find between 300 and 400 RPM to be the optimum range of drilling speeds. It prevents the heat transfer created during the drilling operation. The air prevents the heat even taking place. And being at that speed without the air, and if you're just going in and back out, clearing the chips and taking your time drilling the hole, especially on acrylics, that will prevent stress fractures, heat stress fractures being created in the acrylic blank. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Awesome.
It's a smart move. No matter what you drill it on, put that air in because of the close tolerances of what you're working with.
Absolutely.
So that great idea.
Absolutely. So I'm going to turn my air on, turn the lathe on. Now we're going to giddy up. So drill about 1/4 of an inch, I back it back out. Yeah, just keep repeating that process until I'm all the way through. Here with the chuck, it's open at the bottom, so you can see a shadow, so you'll know when your drill bit is coming through. But if you don't rely on that shadow, then you can always mark the drill bit to know that you're completely through. Not to mention the fact you can feel it when you bust through. So even on this drill bit, I've got a mark here.
We have a request on the chat. Where did you get that air adapter?
Amazon. So I can look up the link and post later. If Trey is on, I think Trey has the same one or one similar. I think Trey can do it as well. But if not, afterwards I'll post it. But it's very handy. It's small. You ain't got to press anything down. You just twist it. For the air hose, you'll notice that it's articulating. And so I posted a link for that last week on the Facebook group page. This is a great hose. Cost, I want to say around $40, $45 American. But far better than the yellow ones that you have to fight, that are constantly trying to kink up on you and pull out of your hands. This one coils naturally, and yeah, just such a marked improvement compared to compared to the other ones that are out there that are rather rigid. All right, so I'm done with the chuck. For those that have problems getting your chuck off, you don't need a special chuck key that goes into the tighteners. All you got to do is open your chuck up a little bit, have them at the base of the jaws, engage the spindle lock, and with your chuck key, you can loosen it. All right, so we got our blank drilled. And so now we're going to mount that between centers. So I got a 60 degree dead center. That's going to go into the headstock. I always blow.
Let me eject you. Turners, novice turners, watch this. This is unique.
And so I always blow my Morse tapers out whenever I have the opportunity, removing a chuck or a dead center or live center, always blow them out. Same with the live center. Every now and then you can get dust in there and it will affect how your Morse taper fits. And you also just run your hand over it to clean them off, make sure. And so now we're going to mount to put the brass in. So now we're going to take the blank that we just drilled. We're going to insert the brass. And then what I was saying last week as well, going between centers, doing a blank like this, it does not have to be cranked down with all of God's almighty. It just needs to be like that of an oil filter or the jar of mayonnaise or pickles in your fridge. Just got to be hand tight. And you'll work on that. You'll get the feel of it after you do a few of them. Where what that balance of tightness is. Advance my quill out a little bit here. And you'll probably even hear or see me stop it while I'm turning it. But that's okay. As long as you're doing light cuts with a sharp tool, it will be fine. So turn everything, make sure everything you got everything locked down. Nothing's loose, nothing's in the way, and nothing's hitting. And should be okay.
Dane?
So, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Just now you've locked everything down. Can you just pull that off again? Have you put a point drive into your drive head?
Have I put a what?
Have you put a point in your drive head? There's no actual drive on it. It's purely just a point. So it becomes a friction drive.
Yeah, it's literally just a 60 degree dead center.
That's exactly
just like what you did.
That's exactly what I stopped you there for, because some people might have missed that, and I just wanted to make sure, just to let everybody know why you've used something like that. Because what you've got is dead center of that hole now. Whatever size that hole is, whether it is 7 mil, 10 mil, 15 mil, 20 mil, or whatever, it will slide on there and that will sit dead central. You're the first man I've actually seen to use one of these other than me. Mine's in my lathe at the moment.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so they're both 60 degrees.
Yep.
Yep.
So you're actually friction driving it.
It is totally friction.
Yeah, you haven't got you haven't got a drive on. For anybody who hasn't got one of them points or hasn't been able to get one of them points, you could make one out of timber. I made a 2 Morse taper with a point, out of hardwood, which does kind of the same thing, but you do risk the burning of the timber.
Right.
Thanks, Dane. I just wanted to clear that up. I noticed once you'd put it in there, I thought he has not got a drive on there. What he's got is a cone.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Good segue on that. I appreciate it. All right, so we got the blank back in. And so what we're going to use to turn with tonight, we're going to use, and then just for roughing purposes, I'm going to use my 1-inch skew just to hog off the material, take it down, maybe do a few planing cuts with it. And then I'll final turn it with my 1/2-inch skew. And then at that time, once we get close, I'll talk about the importance of having that final hone done on it, done outside of using a diamond card. And then for trimming and flushing the side of the blank, I am going to use my oval skew to trim the excess wood down to the brass on both sides. So at this point, any questions on tooling or how it's going to be turned?
Okay, we're going to proceed with the demonstration. Dane, as you said, and you and Martin was speaking a moment ago about that dead center, littlemachineshop.com, littlemachineshop.com. It is item number 1890. Start there when you're looking for one.
Yes. All right. So another, similar, as most folks know, when turning a pen blank, speed is your friend. Turn as fast as you are comfortable with. Don't turn fast just because I'm turning fast, or Martin is, or Eddie, or Cade, or Dean. Turn it to speed you're comfortable with. But speed is your friend, especially when you're starting with a non-cylindrical piece of wood. So with that, now that I got my face hood on, can you hear me all right?
We got you.
Right on. And so I'm going to be going at about 27 to 2900. And all I'm going to do is present my skew to the wood and then raise the handle, finding that bevel. To remove the wood. And so again, I don't have a lot of pressure on here. So I'm going to be taking 1/8 inch bites as I'm coming in and roughing this off. And then just following it up with a simple scraping cut. That is probably the most common cut for the majority of skew owners, because they are scared of using the quality cuts. There's more use to a skew than just doing a scraping cut. And look at that, lost part of my blank.
Only in demos.
Only in demos.
Well, it's part of the demo to show you how things happen.
Exactly. And so I didn't lose my brass because it wasn't glued in. So we'll just chuck up another piece.
That's cheating. Isn't that cheating?
That's, well, it's part of the Air Force mantra, always be prepared.
Always be prepared and get a good lie ready if it didn't work out.
That's right.
All right. Be prepared as Boy Scout.
Yeah, okay. So we'll do it again here.
Well, you know, Air Force dresses like Cub Scouts, so it's about the same thing.
Now you might have to save that one, Tim, because I can't hear you. I can hear your voice, but I can't hear what you're saying.
Don't worry, we don't want Tim to save that one. It's okay.
Let's do a nice planing cut.
Look at the ribbons. Look at the ribbons.
And so this is the opportunity for you to practice holding your skew at that desired 35 to 45 degree angle. It's going to allow you to work on getting those super fine shavings. And keep in mind, this is not being held together very well. It's just a slight friction fit. And then, let's think about this. So let's say you're working and you have a preference to cut on one side. Maybe you're left-handed and you want to cut everything this way. Or you're right-handed and you want to cut everything, each end of the barrel in one particular direction. Well, when you're turning between centers, that's all you got to do to switch it around, to put it in that direction that you're far more comfortable with. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. So let me just clean that up. And so this is a piece of mesquite, Chilean mesquite, to be exact. And ultimately, your goal while you're turning, as you're going through the journey, is you're wanting to get to where you don't have to break out those coarse grit sandpapers to get your finish to where it needs to be at. So that right there is, I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit. Rotate. How's that looking for a view?
You see the sheen.
Right on.
Now, Jim asked, why are you doing this? All right. What is the reason the tube isn't glued in and the ends aren't dressed off? Question.
Because we're going to dress the ends off, and to show that you don't need the pin tube to be able to drill a pin blank. So in the pin group forum,
all right.
And this came about, from a discussion last week. I forget who brought it up at the beginning of the meeting, talking about doing pins and what to do when you don't have brass. I can't remember the exact thing on it was, but I mentioned this is how I did mine, and somebody said, "Oh, you can't do it like that." And then there was some discussion.
That's why we do this, folks. Sharing information. That's why we do this.
And I asked at the end, like I'm demoing next week, what would you guys like to see? And everybody, there was a lot of action that said, yeah, I'd like to see you try and do that. Yeah, okay. Like I said, I just showed a few that I have sitting in reserve that already been made, and that's how I make them. I don't have a barrel trimmer. I use the skew to trim them. But more importantly, what I want to try and get out of it to portray across is if you do your cuts as a last cut each time you're cutting, then you're not going to be making tool marks and ridges that have to be sanded out once you get all the way down, where you have to start with coarse grit sandpaper and then work your way through to the finer grits. And a pen blank is a classic example where some of that takes place. Secondly, about turning between centers as opposed to using bushings, and whichever mechanism you're using, whether it's a mandrel or the TBC mandrels that take bushings, to show that the hardware that you buy for your pin kits, the majority of the time they are of a different diameter, a different dimension than what your bushings are, even if it's a brand new bushing, before you've even put it on the lathe and accidentally touched it with sandpaper in your finishing process. And so when I first started turning pins years ago, I would always have that problem where the blank never married up to the hardware properly. And then once I started putting calipers on it, that's when I found out, oh, it's because the hardware is not the same diameter as what the bushing is. Well, it's close, but it's not close enough. And then also with the force, when you're using a mandrel and you got your 2 pin blanks on there, or even 1 pin blank on there, you got another apparatus that is going to experience flex as you're milling your blank and cutting it. And doing it between centers, it takes any of that flex away, and it prevents you from having any inaccuracies on the side of the barrel blank. To include those that use the mandrel saver with a mandrel, you're going to have some degree of flex in there when you're cutting. So that's where we're at on that. Any questions? I couldn't hear you.
Somebody's got a question. Unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Dane, how do you know how far down to turn the blank?
Well, I'm gonna show that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so right now, well, even as as a pin turner, you kind of know how far down to turn it. But I'm going to use calipers based on the hardware of those specific dimensions. So this is a piece of Wall Street hardware, and I'm going to turn to those specific dimensions, for each side where it's going to go on. And so while I'm stopped, let's just go ahead and do that. And so we'll call the right-hand side the cat side for the pin, and we'll call the left-hand side here the ink barrel side. And so got my calipers. So I got it in millimeters, zeroed out. And then on a Wall Street or a Monarch or a Sierra, you're going to measure where that double bead is for that diameter. And we're at 12.91. call it 12.9 millimeters. So that's what that dimension is for the cap. Now, let's take a look at the nib side. And you're going to measure where that union is going to be between the blank sliding on and the metal part of that cap. And they're supposed to be the same dimension, especially if you're just looking at the bushing, because the bushing comes, you know, a set of two and they're both the same dimensions, supposedly. And that dimension is 11.97. So does that make sense why you want to turn according to the hardware as opposed to turning towards what the bushing is?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you don't know you're gonna have hardware that doesn't marry up correctly until you've already put it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can sand down bushings. You can.
Yes, you sure can. You know, but this is straight from the bag. You know, this is a brand new kit.
Yeah.
And they should both be correct. They should be the same dimension, you know, within, you know, 0.005 of an inch, right? You would expect that. And so we're going to go back, and if I was to do a pin, I would use CA. And so I want to be somewhere between, you know, 12.86 and the 12.9. And so that's what I'm going to shoot for here on the cat side. And then the 11.8 to 12 here for this side, I've already got my calipers set to include that buildup that I'm going to use when I finish a pin, because I make them with CA. All right. So does that make sense? Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan to me.
And so we can tell here, I've turned, you know, I'm about probably 3/4 of the way to the diameter that I need to have on this side, or the nib side. And I'm about 3/4 of the way for the pin cap side. So now, and because I've forgotten through all the talking, I am going to pull this barrel out, and then I'm going to look and see how much wood do I need to remove before I hit that brass on each side. And you could, if you wanted.
You're out of camera.
And you could, if you wanted, push the brass all the way down on one side and remove the wood from, or the material from one side. But what will happen is you'll remove too much, and then the blank would come off center because there's nothing holding it together between, you know, the friction fit has lost. And so you want to do a little at a time on each side. And this may seem like a lot of steps, but when you're actually doing it, it runs really smooth. And then the way I look at it, good things come out of patience and practice. Okay. And so essentially on this side here, I got about that much I need to take off, and about that much on that side. And so that's what we're going to shoot for. Take your time, stop, pull it out, look at it. That's the beauty of going between centers, because you have that ability to be able to stop, unchuck, look at it, and throw it back between centers again and not lose anything for your consent to do. And so all we're going to do is come in with the skew, handle down, and raise the tool handle to make that cut. So let's see how we did. Pretty close. Flip it around. Do the other side. Because I've got more room on this side of my tool rest as opposed to being over here on this side because I'm right-handed and I'm more comfortable turning and using the tool with my right hand. Got a little bit more. So I'm sure you saw how it stopped spinning. That's because the friction support was lost from the wood coming up. Just a hair more. And then so you can see, it's not on there that tight. It's hand tight. And this allows you to be able to turn a pin blank without having the actual brass available. It will also allow you to work on the finesse of other type of turnings, whether it's your finials or any other delicate work. So here we are. So now I'm just going to continue on. Now we're going to take it to final dimension. And then with that, I'm going to use my 1/2 inch skew. And once we get down so far, once I'm ready to do the final couple passes, I will take and touch that up on my grinder. I have a 600 CBN wheel. It's just a matter of touching it on both sides. You can do the same with a 120 oxide, but getting that final fresh edge on your skew will allow you to get that super crisp finish over and above using a diamond card, which for other spindle work or other turnings, typically I would use my diamond card to refresh an edge and put a burr on there. But on a pin blank, I'll always touch it up on the grinder. We come in, find the bevel, and work on doing that final cut each time. And then do keep in mind, anytime you're demoing, I think somebody said it earlier, when you demo, stuff always goes wrong.
You know, it always doesn't go right in your shop anyway.
Well, if you look up that phrase in a wood turning book, you'll see my picture right next to it.
Really?
There you go.
We must be partners.
Gotta ask, are either one of you guys professional?
It's what you what do you consider professional?
And so as you can see, I am getting fine
Love those shavings.
wispy shavings off. So we're close, about halfway there. It's a marathon, and we're about halfway there. Not a race. And I still got you zoomed in, so you can still see that finish straight off the tool.
I was going to ask you what kind of polish you used on that, Dane.
Yeah, right. And it's not like I'm burnishing it with the tool because it's way too thin to be able to do that. And it's not being. It's just a simple friction fit there.
That's
So
awesome.
you can't do a burnish. Let's go a little bit more. And so with each pass, you want to try and do, you act like that's your final cut. And if you keep telling yourself, I'm doing this as a final cut, doing this as a final cut, and eventually it will get into your mechanics that it is being a final cut, whether it's your first cut or your last cut. And that's going to build your confidence of not having to worry about doing that final cut. So there I am. There's that dimension. And there I am. There's that dimension. And I got to ask, did I use sandpaper? Let's put some oil.
I didn't see it. How'd you do that? No sandpaper? How'd you do that?
There's a little bit of linseed oil. So I actually got through it with less iterations on the skew to where I didn't have to go sharp. But that's also akin to the tool material.
Looks beautiful.
But normally what I would do, I would have sharpened, like I was saying earlier, before I did my final pass. But I knew I only had a couple more to go, and I knew the tool would leave that surface that I'm looking for. So I'm just going to burn this in. A little bit of tissue paper. Nope, might have to turn it, put a little torque on there. You saw how quickly that stopped when I put the tissue paper on it. All right, and that's just linseed oil. Sorry. Can you see? Am I holding it right?
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
Beautiful job, Dane.
Thank you.
Now, Dane, do you ever glue that tube to the actual wood, or do you always leave them separate?
Typically when I do pens, it's because I received a commission order, and I will turn all the barrels off of one barrel or one piece of brass, and then I will glue them up after the fact.
Okay.
And then for the brass, I will always, I'll throw them on between centers, and then take a piece of 80 grit, or take a box cutting razor blade. My preferred way is taking a box cutting razor blade, and you put that on, and that will score. Turn it on, pull your razor blade across, and that will score inside the brass and give a surface for the adhesion, whether you're using CA or resin, a place for it to adhere to between that and the blank, instead of it all being the same, basically the same inside diameter as the outside diameter of the brass, and the majority of your resin or your adhesion material just pushing out the end of the blank. But that's how I trim. That's how I do a pen blank, and that is how I flush the hardware to make sure it's gonna be planar to the hardware itself, and there's not going to be any outer round. I can't see, so there's not going to be any outer round. There's not going to be any outer round to what you just turned at all, because you've done it between centers. Doggone it. Forgot to put her logo back in there. And so there we have it. That's how I do it.
Okay, let's hear the pros and cons, folks. I got a whole bunch of pros. Go ahead with whatever you have.
That was a great demo, Dane. Like I said, it was quite surprising of me to see that point drive, and I've just had a look. I've actually put the link into the chat there, Eddie, because I've just had a look at that drive, and I think it's $6.80.
Yep, $6.80.
For anybody out there, it'll be
mine is titanium. The cone portion is titanium on both of them, so I'm not sure which one it is, but it wasn't. It was definitely less than $20 10 years ago when I purchased it.
That one that's in the chat will be the best $6 most of you ever spend.
Absolutely.
You would spend more than that on sandpaper, and that point center will center everything that you've pre-drilled. So anything that goes on my lathe, I always pre-drill, and 9 times out of 10, that point center centers the piece for me.
Correct. And that's what absolutely. I am a very high proponent. If you can do it between centers, do it between centers. To include, and I'm not saying you're going to turn the whole bowl that way, but when you're roughing out your bowl and you're getting that outside shape of the bowl, it is mounted between centers. You're not doing the bowl inside. But when you've got a bowl blank on there and you're exposing material, and next thing you know, you see some really cool feathering over here or some gnarliness over here, all you got to do is loosen that up a little bit, reposition the blank, and you can turn to allow that feature to be in your bowl or your box, instead of it being turned out and going on the floor, as opposed to being locked in with a faceplate or doing a tenon and a chuck and going at it.
It's a good point. And turning between, let me get this right. Turning between centers for some newer turners or rookie turners, if you got a catch, what happens? The wood stops and the lathe keeps going. If you had that between on a mandrel, solid locked, like some of the commercials tell you, but solid lock mandrel, and you get a catch, you blow the piece up or you get hurt. So this is the gentlest way to turn. And when you're doing this, you'll learn better tool use because you learn chowing it. It's like plowing a field or raking a field. You don't want to plow it. You want to smooth it out. So this will work. What is a bad analogy, huh?
It allows you to work on your tool control and your presentation. If you're blowing up on a little bitty blank, if you're blowing it up and having failures, well, it's not the lathe and it's not the tool. It is, well, sometimes it's blank, you know, as I experienced earlier. However, I do know that there was a possibility of failure on there because there was a little crack, but I wanted to keep this little bitty knot that was in there. But like we were saying earlier at the beginning of the meeting, if you're just taking your tool and you're plowing straight in, and it doesn't matter if you're using a piece of carbide tool or if you're using the gouge and you're just going straight in, you're asking for a failure. You may get away with it on 10, 20, or 100 of them, but it's going to happen.
On a friction drive like that, Dane, you get a lot more tool control because if you plunge hard at it, you're going to stop that timber. It's not going to turn. And as soon as it starts spinning, you're going to have to tighten your tailstock up, and what will end up happening is you'll split the timber depending on what you're turning. So by putting it on a friction drive like that, there's a lot more skill involved in turning it.
Right.
You'll get a lot more tool control from it.
I agree.
It goes wrong at this side of the pond as well, you know.
Right. Yes.
Any other questions or comments, please?
Yeah, Dane, I have a question. What adhesive do you like to use?
Typically either CA or some. If I'm doing a bunch of them, I'll do 5-minute epoxy. You know, if I've got more than 5 to make, then I'll make up a batch of epoxy. But beyond that, it's typically, you know, a tight bond, medium CA.
Okay, thank you. One last question. Do you tend to flare the tube using the tube ends?
No, and so that's, you know, so that was part of the discussion last week. Provided you're not going too tight, between centers, you're not going to flare it out. As long as you can move that blank with your hand after you've, tightened it down, you're not going to flare it. Because initially it's the centers are going to be going against the wood because it's, you got a 1/16 of an inch or less wood material that's going to be taking that support. But if you go too tight, obviously you're going to bust the wood out. It's going to split. And then if you go too tight once you trim the wood, and then now you're resting against the brass, and if you go too tight, yeah, you're gonna flare it out. But again, this is all about finessing it. It's a friction fit. It doesn't have to be held on with all of God's power. You know what I mean?
Okay, sounds good. I'll give that a try.
Okay, good luck. And give me a holler anytime. I'm always available. So we can always do FaceTime.
All right. Anybody else?
Hey, Dane,
Yes, sir.
can you take your skew? I see you have a curved skew. Can you take a regular skew and grind it to a curve? Because I like the curve better than the straight.
Yeah, of course you can.
Heat.
I think let's see. Yeah, Carter comes naturally curved. I add to it a little bit after I get, my two. I think so. It's a half edge. So I want to say the first half of it was more square, if memory serves, and I broadened that curved arc there.
So how do you do that,
for
Dane? How do
more
you
cutting
take it
space.
square and make it curved? How do you know how to curve it?
You just spend more.
So-
You just spend more time on the heel of it.
Right. But initially, if you're starting off with let me hold that thought. I've got to go. My alarm just popped up for my cat. So I am very diligent about the insulin. So I'll be right back. A couple minutes.
I could help you with that. On the end of the
Go ahead.
skew, grind the end of the skew square off to the shape you want, and then turn the bevels, and then grind the bevels to the square end, sharpen to the square end that you left.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that curve doesn't have to be any specific curve radius.
No, it's like everything else. Whatever you like.
That's right.
Get used to it. But if you grind the top of that thing to the shape you want, and then grind the sides to that, sharpen to whatever you've got left, you'll come out with the right curve or whatever you like.
Okay.
A lot of people like Dane does like it, the first little bit of it, 1/4 inch to be, pretty flat, and then curve it.
Yeah, I like the looks of his skew. That's why I was asking him how he did it.
Yeah, I did pretty much the same thing. And then one of the things that I did is I had a pretty radical curve, and it was too radical. So next time I went on the grinder, I tightened it up a little bit. So, and mine's almost identical to Dane's is right now. So.
Thanks.
I have a D-way that came with. Pardon me. I had a D-way that came with a slight sweep on it. I love it. I'll never change it. That slight sweep made all the difference in the world.
You got
Okay.
Eddie, do you have that tool handy? I'd love to see what you're talking about.
Let me see if it's here. All right, keep talking, folks. Don't give her a clamp or anything.
Yeah, it's really, depending on how you do it, it's really pretty easy to do. It just takes a slight little touch to do it.
I have it.
All righty.
So this would be rudimentary, so I do have, the straightforward, typical skewed grind. And so from this point here, what I would do, or what I do, is I would literally, for that corner, 1/3 of it, I've got it designated there with the marker. I would take that straight in against the grinder, flat, and remove that excess material. And then from there, you're back to your preferred angle, whatever that included angle is going to be, 22 degrees, 25, 27, 18, whatever it is. And then from there, I would focus on working that radius on both sides on the grinder. And you're just doing a half moon, but only for that third, that you just blunted, that you ground off and you went straight into the grinder until you start getting that point. And then from there, you would connect the grind from up, of course, then up here on top, I would also so I had that flat, I would take that, remove that material by going straight in.
So when you're grinding it, would you grind
would-
one
and then-
side, one
then-
side, then the other to make sure you
Yes.
got an even grind, so you get it right down the middle, the edge right down the middle?
When you're working the angles or the included angle, yes, you go one side to the other side because you want to keep those angles the same.
Keep them centered.
Right.
And remember, it's not a race. Heat is a critical part of this. If you overheat that tool, it's useless. So take it easy. We go back over here and somebody asked me about this skew. That is my D-way. Right there. Oh, we'll go back to it.
How do you use that, Eddie?
It's sweeping. I can do the fore and aft cuts on it. It's a sweeping cut. Now you can somewhat see the grind on it. I don't do a negative or a concave grind. This is a convex grind, and this is done by rolling the tool up and down on the face of my wheel. It's like a monkey in a football. It's kind of hard to do, but you'll change the profile of that cut. It's 25 degrees total from side to side, 25 degrees. There's no magic, no codes or anything else. If you're happier at 30, hey, go. If you get less than 20, it's going to really get fragile. You can still use it. You just got to really hone it. But that's what I got from David D-Way, and I like it. What I really like about it is it's made of good enough steel to where it won't work me to death of sharpening it, and it does a very good job. I like it. One of many tools I have from that group that are really nice. So who else has got something on tonight's program?
Jim
All right.
Duxbury's got something to share with us.
Who it is?
Hey, Jim,
That's me. Unmute myself.
you're unmuted. We hear
think
you.
I'm
You're
unmuted.
talking.
Gotcha. I'm doing a screen share. We're short. Can you hear me all right? Is this echoing?
Oh, we got you. We got you.
Hear you.
Okay. I got this headset for Christmas, so this is a new experience for me. Anyway, this is a ball box. This is probably 8 inches in diameter. And this is it half apart. And this is it all apart.
00.
Anyway, I like that one with the multi-sided. Might try that next. But
Wow.
this is 6 pieces identical, put together with a base on it and a finial on the top.
That is beautiful.
Very nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Piece of work.
A lot of it's done on the table saw, but anyway. And this is a piece that we talked about turning different kinds of material. This is Trex. This is an outdoor decking. This is probably, I don't know, 3 inches in diameter or something. That's made out of a 4x4 post of Trex. It comes in different colors. So I got some gray and some white, and I hate turning the stuff, but you could put this out on your picnic table and leave it out there for a year and it'd be fine. Just the saw, these are saw cuts in the side here with 1/8 inch Trex glued into it.
You say saw cuts, table saw?
Table saw when it's square, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's terrible to work with. Also, as you're turning it, you have to come off the tool come off the piece every now and then, because it makes a long string. And that dang string is pretty strong. And if you made it long enough, I think you could get tied up in that thing or messed up. So every now and then just come off and break that string. Oh, this is a pepper mill. I thought I'd show a pepper mill. This is a pepper grinder on the bottom from here down. And on the top, this is hollowed out. And the lid comes off and there's holes in here. So it's a salt shaker on the top. It's done with a square blank of cherry, probably 1.25 inches square or something down the middle. And then maple and bloodwood and yellow heart laminated onto it.
Oh, nice.
This one. Next one is, I turn pens too. These are different though. Nice demo, Dane. Really nice.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
I turn a lot of pens. These are triangular on the bottom. This is a plain one. Maybe I shouldn't tell this. I turn a lot of pens.
Go ahead.
The lathe I use is a reworked Delta, the original Delta mini lathe, I think. In fact, Delta gave it to me. I demoed on it a few times and they gave me the thing. But I re-geared it. So you talked about speed as your friend. Usually a lathe turns about 3,800 RPMs or something. This will turn 7,000. Now don't get excited. 7,000 is way too damn fast. But 5,000 is a dream on slimline pens. And so I turned this somewhere around 5,000. It's not easy on bearings. Every couple of years you need a new set of bearings, but that's $35-40. But anyway, this first one's maple. The second one is maple with a saw cut through it at an angle. The third one is cherry and maple, just a stripe through the middle. And I think this is the same thing in maybe Paducah and maple. This is done, these two are done differently. This is done, you laminate two pieces side by side, and then you cut them corner to corner and take the one side and put it on the other side so that you got a wedge. You have two wedges and then you put it together similar to what I've shown before. But anyway, puts a stripe down the middle. You can also, I have a sled that I can lock these down on and cut pen blanks. So like this, you could cut a maple pen blank and a cherry pen blank, and then put a piece of the cherry onto the maple and vice versa. So you end up two pens that are opposite.
Huh.
That's nice.
This one is turned, this one here is cut corner to corner. And this one is cut with inlays in it. And this is this is a fat inlay and a skinny inlay and another fat inlay down here. But you could do Celtic knots and all that sort of thing with it. But a lot of fun to a pen, but I probably make 200 pens a year. I don't like making them, but people love them.
Yeah, right. That's where I'm at.
After a while, my wife comes out and says, you need 30 more pens. I said, oh God.
Right.
Anyway, this is a heart shape.
What a horrible problem.
Yeah. This is a heart-shaped bowl. It's only probably an inch, maybe an inch and an eighth thick. It's cut out first and then turned like a bowl, kind of a shallow bowl. Those are a big hit around Valentine's Day. And I think this is the last one. These are bottle stoppers with cork bottle stoppers. But anyway, these are turned from various pieces of wood cutoffs and that sort of thing. I mentioned before that I dislike Shopsmith Unreal, but it does things you can't do on anything else. This holder, that arc is drilled on a Shopsmith with a horizontal drill. With a horizontal drill, you can put this thing on a table and come in from the side and just index it around and drill all these holes all the way around here. It's a terrible piece of equipment, but it does things that nothing else will do. That's it.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
You got it.
We got to get them relieved out of this. All right.
All right.
Good.
So let's
Who's up next, Dane?
Well, we got Richard Limke here. Richard,
All right.
you still with us?
Hey, Dane, remember the guy that had the soccer ball a little while ago?
Yeah.
All right. He's going to come back to us in a few minutes and show us that ball. We want some advice on it. Richard, go ahead, sir.
Hi there.
Hey, Richard.
I just saw him have that ball. This is one our club, our local club, about 5 or 6 of us get together every week, one night a week. And this is from 4 or 5 years ago. We made like 15 or 20 of these and gave them to local schools, to the soccer teams and all that kind of stuff. But we must have spent about 2 or 3 months of one night a week doing this. And it was a lot of fun, but it got boring after a while. But it was fun.
I didn't know that was you going to show. Well, that's what you were showing before I made that other mention. We had somebody earlier show us the ball, and he wanted to talk about it a little bit. He'll come back and talk about it.
Right. That's when I saw him. I thought, I get Lars out and show you what we did.
That's nice.
Richard,
so it was a lot of fun.
So is that hollowed and
yeah, it's hollow. All the pieces were cut on the table saw, and then we took each piece and turned it, the inside and the outside to the approximate shape, and then glued them all together. And once it was glued together, put it back on and smoothed it off. It was a lot of different processes to get it done, but it was interesting and fun.
Definitely. It's very unique. That's good technique.
Okay, that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. Let's go to Tom, and then we'll go back to Ray.
Hey, can you find me?
Tom Kenny, you're up.
All right.
Yeah, I got you, Tom.
First piece I want to show tonight is a piece of chestnut oak coliform, and it was a crotch piece.
Yeah.
And it has a big bark inclusion where the crotch was. It's coming around.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it's moved quite a bit since it was turned. I thought it was fairly dry, but not so much. And the second piece is, I believe, cherry, but it's the closest thing to quilted cherry I've ever seen. And that had a bark inclusion, went all the way through. It was real rough, nothing attractive about it, so I decided to try my hand at stippling. And segmented turners always brag about the number of pieces in their segmented. Well, when it comes to stippling, that's a lot of dots. And it's also done on the back.
That's nice.
So I think my career in stippling is now officially over.
Yeah, one and done. Huh?
I have a belly full of dots.
Yeah, I think I'd be with you on that too.
And that's all we got for tonight.
Right on.
Beautiful.
Thank
Both pieces.
Thank you.
Right on. All right, let's go back to Ray. Hey, Ray.
Okay,
Ray
I'm
Wood
here.
to you.
Okay, that was a very nice ball. I really appreciated seeing that. I guess, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we got you.
Oh, okay. My screen has come up with something there. I'll move it off to the side. And it looked like you had done some hand carving on that. Is that correct?
Are you talking to me?
Richard, yes.
No, it was all done on the lathe. Each piece individually before it was glued together.
Oh, these areas here were done on the lathe?
The joinery.
Yes.
Joinery?
We cut the pieces to the right correct angle, and then we put them on a lathe and shaped the outside and the inside, and then glued them together, and then put the whole ball back on the lathe and did some sanding and whatever to blend them all together.
Okay, so that would make the inside easier to do, I presume.
Yeah, the inside
is
is
here because the wings are out there, and
right.
And I actually did blow this off of the lathe. Got a pretty good catch.
Yeah, no, we did each piece individually on the lathe, and the inside is, it's rounded to the same shape as the outside. And then all of them were glued together, and the trickiest part was gluing them together, because you can't, the pieces don't want to stick to it. You got to get enough of them glued together before you can really use rubber bands to hold it together and keep on going. So that gluing together was probably trickier than anything else.
Richard, could you hold your ball back up?
Pardon?
Richard, could you hold your ball back up again, Richard?
Oh, just a second. I got to get it back.
We got about 17 minutes to go to the top of the hour, folks. This is when we normally pull the plug. If you got something to chat about, want to show something, got a question, this is where to go. All right, Richard, we got you back.
Okay.
Okay, Richard, you said that you didn't sand. Did you sand the edges of your octagon or whatever that is, that 5-sided shape you got?
Where it joints together.
Yeah.
Is that a chamfer?
Pentagon.
Yes. Okay. Where the groove, like right here where the groove is.
Yes.
That was God, it's been almost 5 years since we did all these. I can't really remember exactly, but yeah, it was sanded.
Okay.
The bevel was sanded so that they could fit together.
Okay.
Did
you have a jig on your lathe that you set the piece in to do all the tops, all the outsides?
No, we just used a jam chuck.
A jam chuck.
To put them on the lathe. That was pretty simple doing that. The most tedious part was doing the edges, the sanding, because there was no way you could get it exactly. You just it was a lot of work doing all those, but it was a lot of fun. But after doing, I can't remember, I think we did like 15 or 16, something like that. And, we were sick of looking at them after a while, but it was fun and it was interesting.
Well, after 3 trials, I'm I'm just about ready to give up.
Yeah,
it's,
we
it's
did.
getting close, but
We had a lot of pieces that went in scrap pile.
yeah, I know what you mean. I had 2 5-gallon buckets of cut scraps.
Yeah. And you had to do set up the table saw for each piece, and we'd make a whole bunch of one piece and then a whole bunch of the other ones, and it was interesting, but I wouldn't do it again.
I used a index wheel to set up the pentagons and hectagons on my table saw, and I found that I had to go to a full kerf blade because I thought I was getting too much variation on a thin kerf. So I've just about tried everything to get the accuracy the best I can get it.
Yeah, yeah. I know we had a lot of trouble getting the angles and then holding them on the table saw to cut them. It was tedious work, and you end up with a lot of scrap, but it was interesting.
I'll definitely have to try doing the individual pieces on the lathe and then putting them together. That might work better. I do. I use blue tape and hold them together and put the glue in there, and that seems to work better. I've tried it by piece, and that didn't work at all. So I'm going back to the blue tape.
Doing them on the lathe kind of helped, because when you got it all done, when we glued it all together, we put the whole ball on the lathe, and that was just a matter of doing some sanding. It was pretty quick process because the outside already had the proper shape. So when we got it all done, you put it on the lathe and just did some sanding on the whole ball, and then I think we finished it on the lathe. So.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it. Did you do a YouTube on your procedure?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. One of the guys had talked about it, but I don't think he ever did it.
Okay, well, you've given me some extra ideas, so.
Okay.
Back to the shop.
All right.
That's great, guys.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Boy, I tell you what, see this, man, problem, solution, situation. A little while ago, we were watching Dane Chandler turn a pen, and he was working over a safety surface, I would call it. Something was underneath his lathe so you could see what we was working on a little bit better. And his had one of our original worldwidewoodturners.com. We're really worldwidewoodturners.org. That was the earlier days. Yes. When we had somebody make up those decals. We are still in the market for somebody who would be interested in creating those. But here's the deal. The club cannot have a transfer of money through it. We can't do that. But if somebody made these decals and made them available to our members, feel free to do so. And you can put the information in the chat. It's a free chat. That's what you can do. Next is we told littlemachineshop.com. Martin put the link up there a little while ago about it. When you get these dead centers, all right, it's littlemachineshop.com. Don't pass up on it because it says Little Machine Shop. A lot of what you will use on your lathe and working in your shop can be found at this place, and they're really handy people to deal with, and they're nice. And you'll be amazed what you find there when you go looking for drills, drill bits, center finders, and all this stuff. Things that you would say, wow, I want to make this. They do. And LMC's got it. All right. The next was a gallery. We have our galleries available. I put them together and place them on Facebook and YouTube. I'll be placing a new gallery up tonight. But I get those with the photographs that you send me. I can't capture photographs off our Zoom thing. They just come out too grainy. So if you email me a photograph, I'll get a lot better. But send me a photograph of what you do. And I'd like to see it in stages. I really would. I can't add all the narrative and all to the trailer, but if I could show top, bottom, center, and all this, or where it came from, That's really great. And if you do a nice production run with some awesome looking video like Dane showed us tonight with making those sweeping cuts, I'd like to get a couple of those tabs too, because we can add that to the piece and that'll come out with it also. Let me see something. Remember on February 15th, we're going to have one called Show Me Your Crotch. And I'll put that one together just because of Doug wrote. And we'll go have that. That's a challenge piece turned with crotch. And I'll have some display pieces I can show you later on for it. Looks like for July 4th, we're going to go for the Canon. And it's going to be us against those British folks. Remember, we need your best now, you know. They tried to beat us once before. Let's get right to it. And let me see. That was Canon July 4th. And we had one more. I don't have the notes. But if you'd like to get involved, do so. If you want to create a project like that, let us know. If you have something you in particular like to turn that you want some tips on, let us know. If you want to do a demonstration for us, Dane's demonstration was just now shot on a, here it is, very expensive piece of equipment that Dane and only Dane has, called a cell phone.
Yes.
And that will work for producing your videos in a heartbeat. I'm disappointed mine. All the numbers are upside down on my phone. But if you got the meanings, you can do it. Now we've had Doug Miller show us a demonstration by that, and a couple other members. We don't shy away from sharing information. With that, I see we had a lot. We didn't have a lot of our folks, and some of our ladies were out tonight. And I see some of the older guys, the seasoned guys in with us. If you've got something to show, we got about 10 minutes. What's up?
Anyone out there?
Hey, is Cade Bolger on tonight?
Yes, he is.
Hey,
Cade was around.
I got to give you a shout out and say thank you, because the last time I was on, I don't think you were on, but you gave me the idea with the bowling balls, instead of trying to put it between two centers, to just put it right up against my spindle on my headstock. Huge improvement. Then I took that idea and said, well, what if I just throw my vacuum chuck on there, just because it's bigger and rounder, threw that on there, and then brought up my tailstock. And wow, that really took a lot of time off. And I've gotten a lot better at turning these bowling balls. As a matter of fact, I don't even have any to show you, because I gave them all to my sisters, giving them away as Christmas gifts, or did give them away as Christmas gifts. But that was a huge improvement, Kate. So thanks for giving me that idea.
He has to unmute himself to comment, but he's out there. He's taking care of Cash right now. You know, he's spoiled. He's got like a 14, 15-month-old kid, and got to work for a living now. So, and look, for folks that joined us from 3.5 years ago, look at all the hair Doug's got. Look.
Isn't that amazing?
Probably into. Doug, are you using shampoo? Oh, he's gone for a spike. That's cool.
I think he's going for a man bun there. I'm not.
Don't say that, please.
No, that's a mohawk. That's a mohawk, guys.
Know what that is?
You're gonna need some. You're gonna need some more.
You're muted, Doug.
He's
muted, Doug.
Doug, you're muted.
Doug, you're muted.
Can't hear you.
I hear you, buddy.
I said we all have our limitations. I will wear women's clothes, high heels. I'll even wear women's underwear. I will never, ever have a man bun. Never. We all have our limitations. I can only go so far.
Those are
Are you willing to dye? Are you willing to dye that mohawk purple?
Maybe so.
Cindy Grossa would love you if you did that.
Spring break.
Yeah.
During spring break, huh?
Just to let you know,
next
Doug.
week. Next week.
Rebecca DeGroot and Sally Alt gave me a purple mohawk at Campbell's one year, a couple years ago.
Well, I tell you what, makes me happy I don't have hair.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Doug.
Hey, you bet.
Yes, sir. Gary, Cade may be working. He's on and watching, but he looks like he's got his video turned off and his sound turned off. but if you want to go ahead and ask the question on the off chance that he is listening,
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
it may actually be for more than just him, but I'm probably within a month to 6 weeks of getting my shop finished. And it's brand new. And he is one that I have seen that appears to be turning in a plastic room, so to speak. In other words, to try and control the dust from going elsewhere. Are there other people that are also doing that, and how advantageous is it to where, is it something that at this point, it would not be that hard for me to design into some minor framing to allow, say, a plastic wall behind me and beside me? Do people find that advantageous, or is it pretty much a waste of time?
Dean Grimes has a similar setup that I know of.
All right. I had that at one time
behind
in my
me.
other shop.
Yeah, look behind me and see what I've got covering up my workbench. So the shavings, because the shavings will go over my shoulder. So I've got material hanging up behind me in my shop.
Yeah, the biggest benefit is limiting how far the shavings travel.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the dust so much, but
Yeah.
just keeping the majority of shavings contained into a smaller area so you're not having to sweep them off all your workbenches and everything like that.
That's
And
why I got the material up behind me, is because I kept finding shavings on my workbench and I was constantly having to clean them off.
yeah.
So I hung up material and it works great now.
Look directly behind Dean. Do you see that rod and those rings and that curtain back there? All right. Let's make that rod right there a piece of 1/2 inch lightweight tubing from the electric shop. Okay, got that? Next, the rings, Home Depot. And you're gonna say, where's Home Depot got that? The same place they have shower curtains.
That's what I was wondering about, is shower curtain type arrangement.
I had them. It gave me a 6 foot long
Every
piece,
night.
and I could slide it back and forth on that rod. It didn't weigh enough to pull it down, and from where it was at to the floor, to below knee level was perfect to keep the shavings. My problem would keep them off anything. It was the fines that would get in the air, go over to where the bolts, nuts, screws, clips, and all that was sitting there, and it wasn't climate controlled and rusting. So think about shower curtains. Get a cheap one at Walmart and play with that, the stick, and you might be surprised at how well it'll work.
I have 11 foot ceilings, and I did the same thing in my shop. If you look at my past demos, you can see it. You spotlight me. So I've got 10 or 11 foot ceilings. So I put a painter's plastic behind me with a 1x2 into the ceiling rafters and sealed it on the edges. So my shop is all sealed from the rest of my shop's in the garage. Helps keep it warmer too, helps keep the heat in. But the problem with the shower curtains is you still have an open space for dust and like Eddie said, fine particles and fine shavings can get out.
Just not long enough.
Yeah, and they're not long enough. So, unless you're in a space with a short ceiling, where your ceiling is only a foot above your head or something, then you're gonna have to use something else.
Yeah,
I did a video and it's up. I used PVC frames and plastic that, well, you used to see people use a lot of it to cover their tables with. You can pick it up at Walmart or just about anywhere. And you can make them to the size you want.
What is that, Dane?
Well, it's another patch that my daughter got made for me to go on one of my schmucks.
Nice.
So you Louisiana folk probably know this guy called Stale Cracker, owner of the Louisiana Shrimp Company. But he's a hell of a cook, and he's got himself a YouTube channel, and does a whole lot of stuff on Facebook. And whenever he's done using the cooking utensil, after he empties out, the pot of onions or the crawdads, and boom, he throws it across his kitchen. Like, get out of here. And so and he's a big natty light guy. And so while he's waiting for stuff to do what it's supposed to be doing, he'll grab his libation. And while we wait, we hydrate. And so my daughter got that for me.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Well, that's a perfect
Alrighty.
patch for where I live in Central California, where summers are, 2 months straight above 100 degrees. So
Nice.
it's a good saying. Hey, Cade.
Hey, Cade.
Hey, Scott. Hey, everyone. Hope all is well.
Yeah, Kate, Doug Rowe just gave you good accolades on which you talked about holding something between. Is Doug still with us? Doug?
I
Doug
think
Rowe?
Doug checked out.
He checked out. Okay. But he was turning a bowling ball. And he listened to your advice, using the center and pushing up against the center instead of trying to chuck it. And then he did it with his vacuum chuck, pulled it up the vacuum chuck and got it lined up. And he wanted to thank him for all the trouble you got him out of. So that's nice that we share that.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Doug, for that.
Hey, thank you, Cade.
There he is.
Yeah, no problem at all. Sorry, I've been back and forth. I've been listening in and watching and coming back and forth. I'm just at the range practicing, so
Oh, okay.
Got a tournament coming up or what?
get some range time. Yeah, there is some tournaments happening in January, and then a little bit of hunting here and there around town
No, that's fine.
this time of year. So it's a little chilly outside though, but just bundle up and get the bow and rifles out there and good to go.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Good seeing you, sir.
Hunting in the winter is a whole different animal compared to hunting in the summer.
Yeah, for sure. Survival is a whole other game in the frigid -40s. You can become an icicle pretty quick if you're not prepared.
One shot, one kill.
Yeah, that too. You don't want to track it through 6 feet of snow in the bush.
Absolutely.
Bog that you didn't know of.
Right.
Thank you, Kate. Great seeing you.
You as
All right,
well.
but-
Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year. Great
Happy New Year, sir.
Thank you, buddy.
And you, Cade.
I saw in the chat Gary from Oklahoma had a question. What was your question? I just saw it in the chat here as
I think he's talking about the plastic that you have in your shop along the walls.
To try and contain chips and all of that, how valuable did you find it? Or how valuable do you find it? How important is it?
Oh, okay. What it is it's take care, Happy New Year. It's vapor barrier plastic that you get at your hardware store. They use it when they build your house and they put the vapor barrier in between the walls. I went to Home Depot and I bought a roll. And the roll is, I don't know, meters and meters, probably 100 meters long. And it's actually double wrapped. So when you cut it, it's folded. So it's not just 6 feet, it's actually 12 feet tall. And then it's something like 100 meters or 100 yards long. So, I mean, once you get a roll, you have vapor barrier for a lifetime. And I vapor barriered my ceiling, so nothing went in the ductwork or in my furnace. I vapor barriered my shelves, so I didn't have to constantly clean wood chips and dust off my shelves. Now I get minimal dust on my shelves, but at least I'm not having to clean the wood chips off the shelves every time I turn my lathe on. And then also I have some that go around the side of my lathe room, because on the other side of the plastic, I have a drill press, a chop saw, a sliding miter saw, band saw, sanders, disc sanders, wood shapers, routers, and stuff. So I don't want them getting covered in wood chips either. But also in behind that plastic, I have 2 general VS Plus lays for my students. So I'm not filling their workspace either. If I'm working while they're working, and then we just pull the plastic back and then we can continue to work and we're not shooting each other with wood chips. But also in the doorway to my shop, I have a double plastic barrier with probably a foot in between, similar to like the butcher plastic doors where you go through 2 layers of plastic, and the first plastic keeps the chips within and the second plastic minimizes the dust that gets out into my basement, because behind that wall I have my furnace, but I also framed in a spray booth and a finishing room. So I don't want ample amounts of dust to get in behind there either on my pieces that are being finished or sprayed or in my furnace, either in throughout my house and my son breathing it either. So that's sort of the setup I have. But yeah, vapor barrier plastic from Home Depot, Home Hardware, Lowe's, Rona. You can get it at any one of those places.
Thank you
And you
very
can buy
much.
it by the sheet or by the roll. I bought it by the roll just so I didn't have limited space where I had to tape sheet to sheet. The sheets are stapled to the joists and they free fall to the floor. So I have no separation and I don't have to tape anything together.
Okay. Good.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Kate.
Thank you.
What do you do
No
with
problem.
the dust, Cade? How do you have a filter? You blow it outside? What, suck it and blow it outside? What do you do?
I have a dust collection system with a hose and a hood that comes in front of my lathe. I use occasionally, but for the most part, I'm in a sealed space within plastic. So I always wear a respirator because dust and lungs don't mix. But I have a couple air scrubbers. So I have a handy little shop job mate air scrubber with a filter on the inside. So when I'm done, or if I'm doing a really dusty wood, I would actually set that in the corner, turn it on, and it will scrub the dust that's within the air. I also have one on the ceiling. So I can set one at one room. I have the one on the ceiling, and I can turn them on. They're on timers too. So they come on between 2 and 3, and they run whether I'm in the shop or not. But I can also turn them on and leave them on after a really dusty workday. So it really scrubs and cleans the air within the room itself. If I'm not using the dust collector, but sometimes I use all 3. So, and it works well. It seems to work well for me in my smallish confined area.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Hey,
No
Captain.
problem.
Captain,
Yes, sir. I'm here.
next week, because we're getting so late now, I'll show how I handle the dust coming off my lathe. I built the dust box that I set behind my lathe. And then on the wall behind me, I have a fan that blows towards the dust box. So anytime I'm sanding or doing anything, all that fine dust goes right to my dust box. I don't need to catch the big chips. I can clean those up later. But I'll show it next week.
All right, Scott, thank you for that. And I see Tim Hatch just said he has a fan, etc. That's the kind of tips and hints we want. We want you to show us this because every single thing we see, we maybe will adapt something to our shop, make our turning better, our health better, make it safer. All that goes into just sharing information. I want to thank you all for being part of the meeting tonight. We'll be back here again next Wednesday evening. And don't forget, show me your crotch. That's the day after Valentine's Day. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be I just put the 2 together and got 4. All right. See you all next week. Take care. Be good.
Right.
Be safe.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Have a great week.
Happy New Year.
Night.
Happy New Year, everyone. Take care.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night,
Yes,
Captain.
I
Have a good
agree.
New Year.
You too, folks. Be safe. Please be
Happy
safe.
New Year, Captain. Be safe.
See you next week, Captain.
You too. I'm looking for you. I'm going. Pecan, that way.